The new league year in the NFL will officially get underway in just about an hour at 4 p.m. today. Before that, the Bills did clear more cap space, $12 million to be exact, with the restructuring of Josh Allen's contract. We'll talk with Sal Capaccio at 5 for the latest on the Bills and what has been a very fast-moving 24 hours in the NFL, headlined by the Baltimore Ravens now signing edge rusher Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $120 million deal. $60 million of that is fully guaranteed, and this happens because last night, the Ravens backed out of their trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby. As of now, Crosby will be a Raider. And then the Colts, they lock in quarterback Daniel Jones to a 2-year, $88 million deal that can be worth up to $100 million. For the Sabres, no game tonight or practice, but they have won 8 in a row. And for more on yesterday's win, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Sabres are next in game action tomorrow night when they host Washington, while around the rest of the NHL, a very light night. Just 2 games on the schedule. Both are at 7:30. The Senators hosting Montreal and Washington at Philadelphia. And then in college hoops, the A-10 tournament is underway, and the Bonnies, they took down LaSalle earlier today, 99-80. The Bonnies next in action when they face George Mason tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day.
Sports Radio 550.
Okay, another bit of a tester. What takes the lead? What takes the pole position here? Another Sabres win or the,
ho-hum.
The Crosby Ravens thing is juicy. But basically, Happy New Year in the NFL. A little bit of an anticlimax with all the news that hits Monday, Tuesday. You find out about most things then.
They save the best for last night, I guess. When that Crosby thing fell apart with Baltimore, that was what had been. I think I saw some analysts and people commenting that it had been pretty not that juicy. Opening to the league year or tampering period, teams made moves. Some teams made big moves, but nothing like, whoa, you can't believe, the Bills traded a second for DJ Moore. That was a big deal, but not earth-shattering. It's not Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill from a few years ago.
Well, I want to speak to that before you go further. I think that's probably right. The one reason for that might be that, running backs and receivers were not that deep or interesting.
Right.
We had Derrick Henry and Barkley that one year, stars
right.
at that position. And you just mentioned 2 receivers that happened in the same offseason. There really wasn't that. And Alec Pierce, who, most people are going to be like, who's Alec Pierce? Didn't even get to free agency in the end. But, that's the same to me, whether he did or didn't. Quarterback, though. There's still more to come.
There is, right. Murray's still got to find a chair. You've got, Miami divesting themselves. Geno Smith going home to New York.
Murray, I think, is going to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. So there's been stuff. But anyway, last night was just, the Max Crosby thing falling apart was just the plot twist. Maybe the NFL offseason needed. It was maybe a little dull.
I'm not sure it's one it wanted.
I don't disagree with that either.
This was not scheduled.
No, I don't think so. But it's just so intriguing to think about the layers. I was listening to Trapasso and Matt and Nate Geary have been in here most of this week in the 1 to 3 time slot, and I don't know, late in the 1 o'clock hour. I was on my way here, nearing 2 o'clock, so 10 to 2. Chris started talking about conspiracy theories. As he's having, I think his birthday is this weekend, and they're having a conspiracy theory party, which is a thing apparently. I did not know.
Oh, I want to hear about that.
Everybody comes and you can provide a slideshow, I suppose, like just your favorite conspiracy theory. You can be, serious about it or have fun with it, I suppose. But the idea is to sell, like, here's why I believe this is real. Right, this Patrick Ewing and the 85 draft is a sports one, Chris mentioned, right? And that led him to, it was a good job by him sort of laying this out, thinking about, could the Ravens have been seeing the whole board the entire time, right? We'll make a big trade for Max Crosby. He's coming off an injury, right? We probably have a way out of it if we need it. But let's trade. Let's make a big trade, sort of set the market, and maybe that will devalue Trey Hendrickson in some way. And 2 or 3 days later, we can pull a pivot and then get Hendrickson for a reduced price and renege on the Crosby trade. I don't happen to believe that it goes that far.
I was not invited to this party,
Me
but
either.
I would not use that one.
No, I wouldn't either. But
is it possible?
It's like it's above and beyond, but it certainly is possible. You asked me yesterday. We never had a chance to talk about it. What I thought about it, and like I would have made that trade.
You still can.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't make it now. I would make it for a 1 and a 5. I shouldn't have to pay sticker now.
Why not?
Just because
he was already hurt.
I know, but the whole specter of the thing is damaged now. Like, to me, there's no way maybe the Raiders won't trade him at all now because they know they can't get what they originally got.
That's what they're telling
right.
the world's Diana
Right.
Rossinis. That's
Right.
what they're telling them. Like, I mean, even her wording was so overdone.
Yeah.
But this is what the Raiders are going to need. Words to that effect. I mean, you can still try. It's very Parayko-esque.
Mm-hmm.
It's even 2 firsts, which is what the Sabres were reported to
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
be giving up
Right.
for Parayko.
A pick
One was
and
the pick
a player,
that they
yeah.
already made. But,
Yep.
yeah, I guess it starts with the player's attitude about it all, just as Parayko did. I mean, obviously different because he had control over the whole thing and didn't want to come to Buffalo or leave it all and ended up not leaving it all. Crosby doesn't quite have that, but if he's disgruntled, if he gets all sensitive about, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, that this team doesn't want me, then the Raiders probably have to move him. And maybe they can't get 2 1s. I think the world kind of thought that was egregious for a price. Not everybody. There's also that in terms of Parayko, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe it has to start there. Is Max Crosby willing to just play for the Raiders after this? And I don't know that answer. I haven't seen anything publicly that he won't.
Right. I mean, most of the big ESPN NFL Network is he's there rehabbing 6 a.m. And the plan is to proceed as though he's going to play for them this year. And that to me sounds a lot like, just keep your head down and we're going to try to salvage what we can here. Right? Like we're still going to try to trade you. We have a bunch of other stuff in place that we did with the expectation that you weren't on our team anymore. Maybe even that we would have 2 number 1 picks coming in the next 2 years or so. And now that's gone. Teams do. I'm going to go back a long time, but didn't Chuck Knox sort of tell O.J. Simpson, like, we all know you want to get out of here. Just play. Just do me a favor. Just don't be a jerk. And I'll make it happen.
Is that what happened?
I've read that in a book somewhere. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And eventually, they made a trade. Like, I don't need you holding out. Just come on in. We'll do it. You got my word. And they did. Maybe that's what's happening with Crosby now. Like, come in and play nice, and don't. I don't need you posting cryptic messages anywhere. Just keep your head down, and we'll still try to figure something out here. That's just a guess on my part.
Well, the Bills are interesting to be the team we talk about, because one question is, after 2 days of action, is there still the same market for him? I mean, Baltimore's out, but
yes.
other teams have made their moves and don't have the cap room they would have had. Maybe they even signed a player at his position. So it wouldn't be possible to have as many teams bidding on him, but it wouldn't either be zero.
And the Bills haven't really done anything.
And the Bills could be maybe the most obvious example of a team that could still do it. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to crash Chris's party with this one because this is also Parayko. You asked Greg Wyshynski yesterday about, like, what does this mean between the GMs involved? Does one think the other did him dirty by how the information got out or just what happened between the Blues and the Sabres? And there was Robert Thomas even before Parayko. That's one you're really risking a lot as Baltimore if this was all a big scheme. It might have crossed their minds. Look, we could get to Tuesday night. We could get into this and see if Hendrickson is available for what we want to pay. Like, see if that's doable. We do have an out. I think they would have known that. So I think I would be willing to go that far on the Ravens. And then you can say what you want about the scruples of that. I mean, some are going to, like Sam Monson is out there today telling like it's no big deal. It's not that bad what Baltimore did. He's kind of talking like that. A lot of people would think different. So I could see the Ravens having Hendrickson, in mind through that, and something about his price changed maybe, or...
Well, that was the story going into yesterday, was that he's like, one report said he's as much as $10 million off what teams are offering. Like, he thinks he deserves 30 and teams are going to 20, or maybe he thinks he deserves 40 and someone was going to 30. I don't know what the math was exactly, but 10 million was a gap that was reported in the marketplace, at least from, maybe what one source knew. So it's possible, like, the whole, like, doing it to affect Hendrickson is probably really far-fetched, but I don't think it's far-fetched at all to see a few days after committing huge assets, 2 number 1 picks, and then the money you got to pay the guy, and see the marketplace shifting in such a way that a comparable enough player, I mean, same position, they're not the same, they have different strengths and weaknesses, but another player that I don't have to pay the price of 2 number 1 picks for is going to cost me probably even less than Crosby's current contract, or the contract I'm going to give him when he comes here, or whatever it was. And just go, yeah, I'm better off with Trey Hendrickson and 2 number 1 picks. Like, what objective football fan wouldn't tell you you're better off with 2 number 1 picks the next 2 years and Trey Hendrickson rather than Max Crosby? I prefer Max Crosby as a football player, but you put everything on the scales, and having the 2 number 1s and Hendrickson kicks the crap out of having Max Crosby.
Well, that's always the debate. Like, that's the DJ Moore conundrum, isn't it? Like, just whether or not I could have waited. Maybe the Bears cut him eventually. There were people who thought that was possible, maybe even likely. Michael Pittman might have been available to the Bills. Not to say that I know how they feel about him, but I like him a lot. That could have been something, and that probably would have been a lot cheaper because he was for Pittsburgh to acquire. So there's always that part of it. I told you yesterday when we thought he was a Raven, like I usually like, respect, admire what Baltimore does, because, that's kind of how a lot of people look at the Ravens and the Eagles. They're one of those teams that everybody's just always impressed. But I hated that trade for Baltimore. I think they were lucky to be able to get out of it, for the reasons you said. And now they get somewhat of a comparable player just for money without having to trade those picks. How would we feel? Would this be one, like so many things, where if the Bills had done this, we would applaud? But if somebody else does it, I don't mean you and I, but, fans would be like, what do you mean? Fine. I mean, I didn't have time to buy a jersey yet anyway.
It's within the rules. I don't want a damaged guy on my team. Right?
This is better.
Right?
Imagine, though, if we had spent 2 days, if we'd been Baltimore and spent 2 days, because there's no hockey team in Baltimore. So
just
this would have been available.
Talking about Max Crosby on our team.
And whether or not this was a good trade, and you have the whatever the factor is of when it's your team doing it, that affects what percent of the fan base likes it. But there would have been like heated debate on
Sure, and
you and I would have been on different pages.
Yep.
Like just whether or not this is something the Ravens should have done. Then you find out, well, guess what? It's not actually happening,
Right.
and they're doing this like kind of a lot of wasted time.
Right, and if you thought giving up 2 number ones was ridiculous, then and you yelled that a lot on the radio or whatever, wherever you do your sports commentating, then you win. You come away feeling like, oh, well, okay, I got out of that. Sort of like how I ended up feeling about Parayko. Like, I like Parayko as an idea, as a player. He definitely would have made the Sabres better. I don't think he's quite what he used to be, and the price was so raunchy to me that I just thought, I was kind of relieved when that fell apart, ultimately, because I think they were overpaying for that player. Again, not to say that would I rather have him than Logan Stanley on my team? Nothing against Logan Stanley. Sure, Parayko's a better hockey player than that, but the price being 2 number ones versus Roseanne and Bryson, like, okay, like those guys to me are spare parts and no big deal. So the price makes everything, can make everything, a little more palatable. Or not appetizing, which is the case with Parayko and with a lot of people with Crosby, I would imagine.
Thinking about the Sabres now, how does this play out? What we're going to do, like you say, well, they would have been a better team with Parayko than Stanley. And I'm thinking to myself, are they ever going to lose another game?
Right.
I mean, what does it matter? Of course, yesterday we found out they're going to lose 8 of their next 9, right? That's what we found out yesterday because of the 2006 narrative.
Right.
No, I mean, what ultimately, I guess, decides whether that trade was worth doing with Winnipeg is how the season ends. Like, why did you do that? Why did you make that trade for those 2 defensemen? Well, you want a little bit of a different makeup in your lineup, but mostly you want insurance. If I end up in a series where I'm getting roughed up, if a game like Sunday happens, I'm going to put them in. Somebody gets hurt, I'm going to put Luke Shen in maybe, like you have, or for the same reason even. Mm-hmm. Like you have that kind of insurance that teams may or may not end up needing. And I can't believe this team is so good that it's just going to be a joyride all the way to the top.
Right.
Like probably you as a GM have to prepare for those possibilities. So making these kinds of trades makes sense. It's also possible that they really won't be any better for it.
Right.
And if they don't have injuries and they can hold up physically like they did on Sunday without even Logan Stanley, then okay. I mean, but you did it, and when you win, like I always say, everybody knows everything was right. There's no way the Sabres would even like make the conference finals. Probably win the cup. Let's just start there. There's no way they're going to win the Stanley Cup, and people are going to be, bothered by that they didn't keep their number 2 for next year's draft. Guys, the draft is in Buffalo. No, I mean, we're just not going to hear that.
No.
There's a point at which we will. Wyshynski said he really liked how Winnipeg did. He doesn't really like the players very much.
Right.
And thought, if you're that way, anything you get in the way of futures is a plus.
Yeah, and Roseanne could be.
Yes.
He's been kind of log jammed here, and maybe he's going to get opportunity at least from here to the end of the year, and maybe he goes into next year mattering for them. It definitely could happen. He's still young, so
definitely could happen.
That it's not for me. He just was outranked by guys in this organization, so to me, he's expendable. To Winnipeg, he might be a bright young opportunity, which is fine. It's the eye of the beholder. To me, Hellenius and Osland and guys like that have already passed Roseanne on the 90 from Rochester to here. So you're that far down. I can do without you.
Plus the Sabres. I mean, what a luxury, but also like it changes some of that analysis. I think player versus player. They have built a team that no one wants to touch. I mean, trade deadline came around and nobody wanted to trade anybody off the Sabres roster, right? Because you just don't do that. Alex Tuck was a conversation until when? End of January?
Yeah, when they got once they got hot again after the hot streak, it just became forget it.
There's no decision.
No
to
one's
make.
even having a conversation about this.
Right.
It's not happening.
Right. So maybe that's interesting for Hellenius, who wasn't traded, but for Roseanne, like there's just not going to be room. And we might like you in a vacuum versus somebody else that's here, but maybe that would have been Jack Quinn.
Right.
He goes and scores a hat
Right.
trick.
That was the guy that from the roster when you would ask me, and I think I had a lot of company in this. Like, who do you want to upgrade? Like, what would you mess with? Like, that was the spot. And yeah, there's a hat trick last night. Thanks, thanks for coming.
I mean, they can do no wrong.
That's right. It's like everything just
So
kind of
far.
goes right. Yeah.
You can get them to win the cup at Caesars plus 2,500. I realized today, and I told you this, I don't have an open bet. On anything.
No, same. I don't even have like last year at this time I would have had a Stanley Cup, NBA Finals,
Yes.
World Series, Super Bowl bet.
Where's that? Why didn't we do that? You still could.
It's just I never even one of the teams that I had last year won. Oklahoma City, the biggest favorite, won.
You had Dallas,
their
the
championship.
Mets.
Yep, and the Bills.
And the Bills.
Yeah.
They didn't win?
No. So
Seattle.
I just didn't bother. I mean, I still could. Obviously, the hockey playoffs and basketball playoffs have not begun yet.
You can probably do that any day of the year.
Right.
Make a bet like that.
Yeah, the day after one final ends, you can do a whole new one for next year. So it's no big deal.
You could do one right now that would pay out after the Super Bowl. So 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a long time for somebody else to be holding your money. But if if you want to play, I got a text from a friend last night, and I saw this elsewhere too, that his bet on the Sabres over their point total cashed last night.
Already hit. Yeah.
86?
85.5 maybe was the number.
Yeah. So with 17 games left?
Right.
They've already won that.
Yep.
Do you get the money? I don't even know. Maybe it varies. Do you get paid today, or do you have to wait until the
I don't know.
season's over?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean, there's no way you can lose points.
There's
At least not that I'm aware of.
Not even in the NHL.
I don't think there's even a punishment that the commissioner could mete out for some egregious something or other that would cost you points.
I don't think there is, but I'm going to enjoy trying to think of something that should be that. Hagel against Dahlin should be like you lose a point in the standings just for being idiots. So I saw a graphic with odds from different sports books on the Sabres Cup idea, and that was the best one, Caesars. So
okay.
Sam would tell you, this is not your style.
No, go
Sam
shop
would tell
around.
you, shop around, price shop
Yeah.
with this. Do we have a picture of DJ Moore holding a pen yet? I was on ADP chasing last night when the story broke on Max Crosby, and the guys had their fun with, is there not still time for the Bills to back out on the DJ Moore trade? Couldn't this start a trend? But I don't believe that's the case. Yeah, I mean, Baltimore is risking, reputation-wise, I think quite a lot by any of this, especially if somebody thinks it was like a master plan the whole time, which I just don't buy.
I don't really either. But
still,
even if it wasn't a master plan, if it just came, yesterday they were sitting in a conference room, just like going over, we really could walk away from this and pivot to this other guy, and what is the damage? What kind of out here? There's going to be fans thinking if they like the Ravens, like you already alluded to, you'll defend them. If you don't, you'll think they're up to something and it's nefarious or whatever. And people within the league will draw the same kind of lines probably to some extent. But when it comes down to it, if the Ravens have a player that they're trying to trade in a future year here, right? Kyle Hamilton is available. They're at an impasse. Teams are not going to, engage in talks with them. Of course, they're going to go, you got a guy I want, I'm going to talk to you.
I think it might manifest on like a personal level between GMs who know each other, and it's like, this is a pretty sneaky move. Wonder what Sneaky Joe would say. I'm guessing he's all for it. I've seen a lot of comparisons to fantasy football with this. Like people saying kind of the obvious, I'm not sure it's normally true, but if this happened in your fantasy league, the person would be thrown out. Hardly ever does anybody get thrown out of a fantasy league. Like, you got to do something. Because most of the time people are friends. And they don't really want to throw out George. But he makes a trade. I mean, I was in a league where I quit over something similar. Because I had made a trade And a third person who was the commissioner reached out to the other person in my trade and said, look, you might not want to do that. Maybe you're missing this particular aspect of this. And then the other guy who I made the deal with contacted me like a couple of days later and said, I hate to do this, but I want to back out. I want to cancel our deal. And I suspected it, and I went right to the commissioner, and I said, did you talk to Doug? And he said, yes. I said, I quit.
No.
Like my friend Mike once said, when he and I were in a league that was kind of shady, there's too many leagues out there.
Right.
Nowadays, you'll never go wanting for a fantasy league to play in.
As soon as you have reason to think your trust is fractured, forget it.
That's it.
Right. But in this case, like, they're one of the 32 teams, and they'll have players, and they'll be doing business. And I just think eventually, as hot as it might seem right now, and even as hot as some GMs might be about it, business gets back to being business. And I got to do business with you. If it's good for me to do business with you, I'll be back and do the business of doing business with you. That's just how it works.
Yeah. No time in any fans analysis or our analysis of like trade ideas is it even known to us what kind of relationship the two GMs would have, because you'd want it to be irrelevant. It's just, so what if Brandon Beane and this guy are not, buddies, whatever. You don't even know, and you really would rather not care. 803-0550 for your calls. Max Crosby, want to do it? I mean, we can talk about it. There'll be more with the Bills, as still we're not even quite to the official beginning of the calendar.
I don't think we can get a DJ Moore picture with a pen until 4:00.
I saw Greg Dulcich with a pen, and I thought it was pen season, but maybe not. Also, the continuing amazing story of the Sabres. Were you in the building last night? When did you sort of feel like you were buying in on this, or maybe you're still not? I don't know. But we're certainly interested in that conversation, too. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR. Well, guess what? It's not actually happening, and they're doing this like kind of a lot of wasted time.
Right, and if you thought giving up 2 number ones was ridiculous, then and you yelled that a lot on the radio or whatever, wherever you do your sports commentating, then you win. You come away feeling like, oh, well, okay, I got out of that. Sort of like how I ended up feeling about Parayko. Like, I like Parayko as an idea, as a player. He definitely would have made the Sabres better. I don't think he's quite what he used to be, and the price was so raunchy to me that I just thought, I was kind of relieved when that fell apart ultimately, because I think they were overpaying for that player. Again, not to say that would I rather have him than Logan Stanley on my team? Nothing against Logan Stanley. Sure, Parayko's a better hockey player than that, but the price being 2 number ones versus Roseanne and Bryson, like, okay. Like, those guys, to me, are spare parts and no big deal. So, the price makes everything, can make everything, a little more palatable or not appetizing, which is the case with Parayko and with a lot of people with Crosby, I would imagine.
Thinking about the Sabres now, how does this play out? What we're going to do, like you say, well, they would have been a better team with Parayko than Stanley. And I'm thinking to myself, are they ever going to lose another game?
Right.
I mean, what does it matter? Of course, yesterday we found out they're going to lose 8 of their next 9, right? That's what we found out yesterday because of the 2006 narrative.
Right.
No, I mean, what ultimately, I guess, decides whether that trade was worth doing with Winnipeg is how the season ends. Like, why did you do that? Why did you make that trade for those two defensemen? Well, you want a little bit of a different makeup in your lineup, but mostly you want insurance. If I end up in a series where I'm getting roughed up, if a game like Sunday happens, I'm going to put them in. Somebody gets hurt, I'm going to put Luke Shen in maybe, like you have, or for the same reason even. Like you have that kind of insurance that teams may or may not end up needing. And I can't believe this team is so good that it's just going to be a joyride all the way to the top. Like probably you as a GM have to prepare for those possibilities. So making these kinds of trades makes sense. It's also possible that they really won't be any better for it.
Right.
And if they don't have injuries and they can hold up physically like they did on Sunday without even Logan Stanley, then okay. I mean, but you did it. And when you win, like I always say, everybody knows everything was right. There's no way the Sabres would even like make the conference finals. Probably win the cup. Let's just start there. There's no way they're going to win the Stanley Cup, and people are going to be, bothered by that they didn't keep their number 2 for next year's draft. Guys, the draft is in Buffalo. No, I mean, we're just not going to hear that.
No.
There's a point at which we will. Wyshynski said he really liked how Winnipeg did. He doesn't really like the players very much.
Right. And
thought, if you're that way, anything you get in the way of futures is a plus.
Yeah, and Roseanne could be.
Yes.
He's been kind of log jammed here, and maybe he's going to get opportunity at least from here to the end of the year, and maybe he goes into next year mattering for them. It definitely could happen. He's still young, so
definitely could happen.
That it's not for me. He just was outranked by guys in this organization, so to me, he's expendable. To Winnipeg, he might be a bright young opportunity, which is fine. It's the eye of the beholder. To me, Hellenius and Osland and guys like that have already passed Roseanne on the 90 from Rochester to here. So you're that far down. I can do without you.
Plus the Sabres. I mean, what a luxury, but also like it changes some of that analysis. I think player versus player.
Trey said that his understanding was when he was thinking of going to Baltimore, the idea was to team up with Max Crosby. And I don't think he was particularly thrilled that the Max Crosby trade fell through. He was looking forward, if he opted for the Baltimore offer in the midst of his discussions with multiple teams, to playing with Max Crosby. That was his initial impression. I think he's happy to get his business taken care of first and foremost. But I think it started out in the conversation that there was the real possibility he was going to be playing with Max Crosby if that was the route he went.
Is Max Crosby, is Trey Hendrickson a toddler? Is he 6 years old? Is he naive enough? My mom would have thought the Ravens are talking to Trey Hendrickson. That must mean something's wrong with the Max Crosby trade. Let me just check. She might have texted me. Who could be in the league and be a $30 million football player and think, oh yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to have $60 million worth of defensive ends on one team. That is the most water-carrying garbage ever.
Well, who's he carrying water for? You mean Schefter?
The Ravens, yeah. I think.
It sounds like the opposite to me. It doesn't sound like he's defending the Ravens by saying that Hendrickson thought he was going to have Crosby on his team. It sounds like maybe he's more the opposite of that. I don't know. I did not have that same instinct. This is reminding me of when we get around the smoke screens on the draft and everything, and I always say, I'm gullible. I could believe that. Like, I don't know everybody's cap stuff. I'm a different player than Crosby. When does the trade ever get reneged in the NFL? Like, who would have necessarily assumed that, especially on that kind of level, a trade would just be canceled? Like, that doesn't happen. So I would have fallen for it. I don't know. I might have thought it weird.
Yeah.
But I would not have been like, oh, no way is Crosby then playing for the Ravens.
I want now. This might not be good for us functionally as a radio show, but now I want to find. He's saying it for some reason to defend someone,
Schefter.
The integrity of the league. Something. There's something there. I need to know what it is because I just cannot. I cannot sit with Trey Hendrickson thought he was going to be on the same team with Max Crosby.
Here, I think
that just sounds like someone who does not pay attention to pro football to me.
You're describing me a little bit, I think, without hopefully meaning to.
I don't.
Well, Schefter's position publicly is what? That he failed the physical. And I think most people are going, come on. He doesn't even necessarily have to pass the physical today for the deal to go
he had
through.
knee surgery in January.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of been a given.
Right.
People are finding examples of other times when players didn't have to pass the physical and the deal still happened and everything like that. But Schefter, I'm not sure what B was. Schefter's take, what he's selling, what he's telling you is that this happened normally. This is the process of business, that the physical wasn't passed and therefore they have an out and they took it. Where I think most people are going, come on, when was he ever going to pass the physical?
Hey, look, I don't know that part is wrong. So I wouldn't assail Schefter for trying to tell. Of course, he isn't going to be football ready. Like, what does failing the physical mean, right? Of course, he's not going to go into a doctor's office and, okay, you got OTAs today? He's ready to go because he just had knee surgery. But, like, long range, could you have found some reason to be more concerned? Like, is there something in there that you're worried isn't going to heal completely, become a chronic thing? Like, sure, that's very possible. So I am not at all inclined to, like, really get at the, how conspiratorial the injury part of the whole thing is. The idea, though, of Schefter trying to tell us that Hendrickson thought innocently he was going to be paired with Max Crosby is insanity to me. It's Schefter's attempt to, like, normalize the whole thing. It's not that big a deal, really, that this happened. It's not unprecedented that a guy fails a physical and a trade gets reneged on, but it's just at this level, 2 number 1 picks. And with the way the legal tampering works now, like, teams are doing things expecting a certain outcome.
This
right?
puts the tampering back in legal tampering.
It does. For a little while last night, there was some sympathy for the Ravens. Like, oh no, they've divested themselves of all these other guys to make cap room for Crosby, and now they're not going to have Crosby, and these other guys have gone and made commitments elsewhere, and they can't unring that bell. But, of course, Trey Hendrickson was just hovering over the whole thing the whole time, just like ready to parachute in and save the day.
Well, it's interesting that you're using Schefter to shape this particular argument. Leave him out of it. Hendrickson is getting courted by the Ravens, and, like, they might have an agreement. Crosby has already been traded to the Ravens. What is your expectation? Is it 100% no-brainer, no doubt that trade is getting canceled? Because I just, again, would say I don't think I would have that instinct. I'm not sure players would because it's so rare for that to happen. So what would you, if there's no way he thought he was going to be teammates, what did he actually think?
That they were calling him because they didn't have Max Crosby anymore. I can't imagine a scenario where the Ravens engage in the first conversation, the first call they make to Hendrickson's agent. Whenever that is, if you want to be really conspiratorial, you can say it was Saturday or Sunday, like, right after they'd made the trade. But you get to Monday, Tuesday, and you got these concerns about the guy's knee. And I think when you call Trey Hendrickson, you lead with, hey, Eric, I don't know who the agent is, right? But I should. It's in every tweet usually when anybody signs in free agency, but I just don't happen to know this one.
Steve Bartlett.
Thank you. So, Steve, listen, we got a problem with this Crosby trade, and we're pivoting to your guy. That's
Maybe.
it.
That makes sense.
I just can't fathom that Hendrickson ever thought that he and Crosby were going to be on the same team at the same time.
Okay.
And I just think that that's the least plausible sounding thing I've heard related to this at all.
That scenario, by the way, also, Schefter would probably have been told that there was this, issue potentially happening, and what did he do about it? Nothing. Right? It just came out last night.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about Crosby before Hendrickson. Didn't that come out? Didn't that break first?
Oh yeah, no, there was the morning, like it be, a lot of people last night eventually after whatever, there's the shock and the outrage and the jokes and the whatevers, and eventually it's like, Trey Hendrickson still out there, wouldn't it be something, isn't this going to look terrible when the Ravens go and sign Trey Hendrickson? Like that was out there before my head hit the pillow last night. And then by the time I got up and made coffee, he was on the Ravens. Like it happened that fast. But no, I don't think that's why I'm struggling with this whole assertion from Schefter. I don't think that conversations going on that are private before reporting begins. I just don't think there was any inkling that Hendrickson was going to the Ravens until the thing with Crosby fell apart. Why would they have been shopping for Trey Hendrickson if they just committed $30 million a year and 2 number 1 picks to Max Crosby? It doesn't make sense. That's the problem I have with that whole thing from Schefter there. I can stop talking about Schefter if you want.
I don't know.
Unless
I do love stuff like this, and I never give him the benefit of the doubt. I always think that they know more than they're willing to tell us. I feel like there are just millions of examples of times where they would have known something. They're always the big reporter guys. Breaking news almost always choreographed. It's like right at the same time they both break the story. Like it's a racket. So I would have to admit that going into any conversation like this. But we do kind of see this one differently. Let's go to Sean here. Hi, Sean.
Hey guys, good afternoon.
All right.
Definitely had a point here where I'm wondering, I'm like, all right, is the league, the players union, did they get word out secretly to kind of blackball the Bills because of the whole Pagula thing and how he threw one of his players under the bus so publicly? I mean, I really don't know what the heck is going on here. This is bananas that we're at this point. I know it's 4 o'clock is when it officially starts, but anybody that's worth any sort of salt has been taken off the board, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. I can't make sense of it. I have no clue what the heck is going on here. This is wild that we have this many holes and he's done nothing about it. And that's the only kind of thing I can logically put together. That is maybe message got out like, hey, they need a little bit of a punishment here from the players because as an owner, you don't go out and publicly lambaste one of your own. I can't, or Bean just has a complete lack of charisma and is unable to attract these free agents unless he completely overpays them.
Are you by chance going to Chris Trapasso's party on Saturday? Because this one would work.
Conspiracy theory party came up earlier in the show.
I mean, to me, at 3:42 on the third day of free agency, words like wild and bananas are just wild and bananas. Like, come on, Sean. How many years in as a fan, or in our case as an analyst, do you really need to know how these things can not all be super obvious right away? The idea that the Bills are being blackballed, did he say?
Yes, because Pagula criticized Keon Coleman at a news conference.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Let it play out. I could see that being considered a bad look for any particular free agent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did he do what was that? I mean, I could see anybody, a reasonable person, having a problem with that, but that there's some effort. Just to me, that's wild and bananas itself for me.
I mostly agree. But I do think it is. I hadn't really thought of it this way. Blackballed is like too far, but is the Bills? What's the Bills' reputation right now?
Chance to win a Super Bowl,
right? But organizationally,
new stadium.
The owner
is it bad?
The GM. It was those news conferences damaged them. They were not good.
The Bills are not the only team with an owner that can
also true.
Kind of worry you.
Also true.
I would say. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked to think that the Bills generally have a poor reputation for almost anything. I mean, they've done so much winning. We haven't liked every one of their moves, but yeah, that was a bad day. And that wasn't even really Bean's doing at all. It was just Terry.
Right.
That was a bad day, but I want to go where I can make the most money and win. And how is that not the Bills? Like,
Right.
the Bills don't have all the cap room.
That's a great way to put it, to close this part of the conversation, because, yes, ultimately, does it rise to the level of guys don't want to be there? I highly doubt it.
Thanks, Sean. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. We'll talk with Zach Pearson about DJ Moore. Covers the Bears for the appropriately named Bear Report. That's coming up in 20 minutes. We'll have Sal on later, and also Brian Koziol, not only on the Sabres' continuing winning ways, but the Players' Championship in golf starts tomorrow. Why don't we pick the Players? Because
we don't.
It's not the fifth major because there are only 4 majors.
That's right.
That's where the line gets drawn. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550 WGR. They have built a team that no one wants to touch. I mean, trade deadline came around and nobody wanted to trade anybody off the Sabres roster, right? Because you just don't do that. Alex Tuck was a conversation until when? End of January?
Yeah, when they got once they got hot again after the hot streak, it just became forget it.
There's no decision.
No
to
one's
make.
even having a conversation about this.
Right.
It's not happening.
Right. So maybe that's interesting for Hellenius, who wasn't traded, but for Roseanne, like, there's just not going to be room. And we might like you in a vacuum versus somebody else that's here, but maybe that would have been Jack Quinn.
Right.
He goes and scores a hat
right.
trick.
That was the guy that from the roster, when you would ask me, and I think I had a lot of company in this, like, who do you want to upgrade? Like, what would you mess with? Like, that was the spot. And yeah, there's a hat trick last night. Thanks for coming.
I mean, they can do no wrong.
That's right. It's like everything just
So
kind of
far.
goes right. Yeah.
You can get them to win the cup at Caesars plus 2,500. I realized today, and I told you this, I don't have an open bet. On anything.
No, same. I don't even have like last year at this time, I would have had a Stanley Cup, NBA Finals,
Yes.
World Series, Super Bowl bet.
Where's that? Why didn't we do that? You still could.
It's just, I never even, one of the teams that I had last year won. Oklahoma City, the biggest favorite, won.
You had Dallas,
their
the
championship.
Mets.
Yeah, and the Bills.
And the Bills.
Yeah.
They didn't win?
No. So
Seattle.
I just didn't
won.
bother. I mean, I still could. Obviously, the hockey playoffs and basketball playoffs have not begun yet.
You can probably do that any day of the year.
Right.
Make a bet like that.
Yeah, the day after one final ends, you can do a whole new one for next year. So it's no big deal.
You could do one right now that would pay out after the Super Bowl. So 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a long time for somebody else to be holding your money. But if if you want to play, I got a text from a friend last night, and I saw this elsewhere too, that his bet on the Sabres over their point total cashed last night.
Already hit. Yeah.
86?
85.5 maybe was the number.
Yeah. So with 17 games left?
Right.
They've already won that.
Yep.
Do you get the money? I don't even know. Maybe it varies. Do you get paid today, or do you have to wait until the
I don't know.
season's over?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean, there's no way you can lose points.
There's
At least not that I'm aware of.
Not even in the NHL.
I don't think there's even a punishment that the commissioner could mete out for some egregious something or other that would cost you points.
I don't think there is, but I'm going to enjoy trying to think of something that should be that. Hagel against Dahlin should be like you lose a point in the standings just for being idiots. So I saw a graphic with odds from different sports books on the Sabres Cup idea, and that was the best one, Caesars. So Sam would tell you, this is not your style.
No, go
Sam
shop
would tell
around.
you, shop around, price shop.
Yeah.
Have you ever been kicked out of a fantasy league? 803-0550. Bulldog has walked away many times from leagues, but I don't believe you were ever booted.
No.
I've never been booted.
No. No, the only place I've ever been kicked out of is the odd. I don't think I've ever been expelled from anywhere else.
That's worth protecting, I think.
Yeah.
Like my going to one NBA game and it was
right.
Warriors. Cavs
Yeah,
in the
I
finals.
want my one. Yeah, it's a good story. I'm not going to retell it all now, but it's good. And having been kicked out of somewhere else since then would only hurt the quality of the story. Yes. I think it just is. Well, you've never been thrown. Yeah, only one time. Yeah.
I was about to be thrown out of a restaurant, but I left first. It was coming to that.
Okay, yeah. I did get thrown out of a youth hockey game.
You did?
One time, yeah. It was. I didn't need to be restrained or anything, but I was yelling, and eventually the goalie was getting run. It wasn't even my kid; it was the other guy, and this team was absolutely just abusing the goal crease, and I'm the goalie dad, and I just was giving it to the official, and eventually he said, "You got to leave," and I was very embarrassed, and I left. I did not continue. I did not go to the bat rack and start throwing. I was just like, okay, they got away from me. Right, I guess I got to go in the parking lot.
I've seen some of this in lacrosse.
I did. I am embarrassed to admit that. I don't think I've mentioned it more than once or twice on the air because it is very embarrassing to me.
Box lacrosse might be the number one sport for the odds of a parent being thrown out, I think. I haven't been to every sport.
Yeah.
But I was at one game that my son played in last year where it was so – I never get crazy about the officials because I just always think they're doing an honest job. In this particular case, I did not think that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I kept my tongue. I looked at the guy walking off, and I was this close, but I kept my tongue. One of the other dads just would not stop. And finally, the ref came over and threw him out. And remember the guy being like, that was so worth it. He just said to himself,
right.
Well, this was so worth it. I don't have to watch the second half of this nonsense. It's mostly good like everything, but there were a couple of games where, wow.
Yeah.
Zach Pearson, we'll talk DJ Moore and the Bears after this break. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Happy New Year, everybody. As the new league year in the NFL officially got underway just a few moments ago, we've got some news from earlier this afternoon for the Bills. The major news for them was earlier this morning as they cleared $12 million in cap space with the restructuring of Josh Allen's contract. We'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capaccio joins the show in just about an hour at 5 for the latest on the Bills, and also what has been happening around the NFL. The big news is courtesy of the Baltimore Ravens. They are signing edge rusher Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $120 million deal. $60 million of that is fully guaranteed. And this only comes about after last night the Ravens backed out of their trade with the Raiders involving Max Crosby. And as of now, it appears Crosby will be a Raider. And then the Colts, they also lock in quarterback Daniel Jones to a 2-year, $88 million deal that can be worth up to $100 million. To the Sabres, no game or practice tonight, but the team has now won 8 in a row. For more on yesterday's win, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Sabres are right back to action, though, tomorrow night when they host Washington, while around the rest of the league tonight, it is a very light night, just 2 games on the schedule. Both are at 7:30. The Senators hosting Montreal, and Washington is at Philadelphia. While in college hoops, the A-10 tournament is underway, and the Bonnies, they took down LaSalle earlier today, 99-80. And next up now for the Bonnies, they're going to face George Mason tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We're up there, and here are the people on the panel, so I'm taking pot shots at Brian Brown. Because, that's what he came to Buffalo for.
It's Mike Schopp.
You literally told E.J. Manuel to his face that he sucked.
And the Bulldog.
I was proud of you, because
I feel like that's what you're there for.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I know. I couldn't, though. No, I couldn't.
I'm better than you.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Do you remember an E.J. Manuel game in Chicago? I'm thinking maybe there's one in Pittsburgh that was pretty gross. Was there one in Chicago?
Yes. Well, isn't he the quarterback in the game where Fred Jackson ate that guy's soul?
The Chris Conte game?
Chris Conte game.
I think you're right.
I think E.J. Manuel scores a rushing touchdown in that game.
Is that week 1?
Yes, I think it is.
All right.
It's definitely early in the season.
Good. Well, this took a turn here. I was thinking there was one that was the worst, since you mentioned Manuel in that clip. This wasn't the worst.
I might want to fact check that all, but
I think you're right.
That all I think is right.
I'm getting information that you're right about all of it.
Wow, what a moment!
What a win!
What a way to introduce a guest that is new to the show.
10 years ago, that game, and I'm sure I feel like I can remember the schedule coming out, and it's Bills at Bears, week 1. I'm like, there's no chance they're winning that game. The Bills.
I remember you feeling that way.
I mean,
yes.
What a tough start. And they did win. How about that? Zach Pearson with us. Speaking of the Bears, Bear Report is where you can find Zach's work. And maybe it's the obvious reason here, Zach, but we wanted to look you up because of the DJ Moore trade that the Bills and Bears made last week, and that has been made official today. So happy New Year on that front, and thanks for your time today, Zach.
Yeah, thank you, guys. That was a pretty bad memory, that week 1, 2014, and that was the beginning of the end, I think, for the Mark Trestman era in Chicago. And that's also, you say, a bad play by Chris Conte. That's not his worst play. The game before that was when he gave up the long touchdown to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers to eliminate the Bears from playoff contention. So, Yeah, bad memories, bad memories.
There was a hangover effect that lasted 9 months.
Right,
apparently.
From January to September.
Ouch. Well, sorry to pick that scab here as we start things off here.
Yeah, it's not exactly salad days for us talking about E.J. Manuel. So,
He's out there somewhere going, how did I get dragged into this?
I know. Why am I catching strays
We
here?
won, and I'm still getting strays, yes. Well, Zach, I've had mixed feelings about this move for the Bills. It seems like a great win for the Bears in terms of the draft capital. I want to know what you think the Bills are getting in the player. As a fantasy player myself, I haven't always been that excited about DJ Moore, but he's always had the excuse, if you will, of just not having the great quarterback, and I think it's probably safe to say that now he will. So how good is he, and what else do you have to say about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to Buffalo. He's going to be wide receiver one. He's going to be a legit wide receiver for Josh Allen. I think he's going to a good place. And one thing about Ryan Poles here in Chicago is, if he's going to make a move to someone who's been loyal to him, he's going to send him to a good place. And I think he ended up, in a pretty good spot there with Buffalo. Now, the thing with DJ Moore is there was a lot of weapons in Chicago, so that's why the production was down. But he still had some pretty big plays. I mean, you guys probably seen the 2 plays against Green Bay, the one in overtime, the one to come back in the NFC wild card. It was just a product of when they drafted Colson Loveland and when they drafted Luther Burden. The writing was kind of on the wall for DJ Moore, and then you give out some bad contracts, and this is what happens. You have to move on from a really good player. So, yeah, I like the spot for DJ. He's still a really good route runner. He's at the point of his career he can kind of freestyle a little bit, and the quarterback will kind of pick up on it. And I think there's probably no one better that can lead a receiver or have that connection quicker, I think, than Josh Allen. So I think that's a good thing for DJ. But yeah, it's not like you look at the numbers of DJ. It's not like he's washed up or anything. He had some pretty big years with some pretty bad quarterbacks. Going back to Carolina, and then I think he had 1,400 yards with Justin Fields, and nothing against Justin Fields, but I mean that's pretty darn good here in Chicago.
Fields and Tyson Bagent. Does that even make it a better point? I don't know if it does or not, but still, like they almost split time.
Yeah, you've already talked about it. The other guys, like competition for targets and all that sort of stuff. But some of the negatives that have been reported on Moore and written about and talked about are like attention to detail type things, and him maybe not going full out when he's not the primary target. Like, how much validity is there, in your view, to those critiques?
I think there is a little. I don't want to rip him or anything. He's been great to us. He's a great human. But there are some times where, you look at the Arizona game 2 years ago, and he's kind of, walking off the field almost in the middle of the play when it's on the other side of the field. And then, the play with him and Caleb Williams at the end of that Rams playoff game, it looked like they weren't on the same page. It was good effort, but I mean, I think people would argue, he probably could have made a sharper cut to the ball. It's just kind of things like that, maybe some just small mental lapses. But other than that, those 2 examples, I can't really think of a whole lot more, to me that would be concerning. You also have to look at this one. This was his first year winning since high school. I mean, he's been on losing teams since he was, 17, 18 years old. So I think a little bit of that comes into play as well in terms of frustration. But he's not a locker room cancer or anything like that. We've never had a dust up in the locker room or anything where he's not a team player. Great with the community, great with teammates. So yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem at all in Buffalo.
DJ Moore went to Maryland. Stephon Diggs was a great Bill who went to Maryland, and Moore is the best receiver, I think, almost undoubtedly the Bills will have had since Diggs. With Zach Pearson, Bear Report, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here on WGR. Well, you talked a little bit already, Zach, about target competition in Chicago. One look at his career numbers does show a pretty steep drop last year, and there are people who always kind of want to attribute something like that to age. I mean, he's been in the league a long time now, Moore. So would you say that at all, or was it more just that, I mean, Burden and Loveland really did come on, less so Odunze, I guess, who had a faster start. But would you blame, as it were, any of Moore's drop in stats on him physically?
I don't think so. I think it's more of just Ben Johnson's system and what he, demands in his players. One thing Ben Johnson wants, you're going to have to be a really good blocker, and you're going to have to make the effort to block too. There wasn't any times where I was like, DJ's not blocking or anything like that, but might have been a couple times where maybe he, had a loaf here or there in terms of that. The connection with Caleb Williams, it never felt as strong on the field as it did, as teammates or anything like that off the field. I think that's just maybe a young quarterback working with a veteran trying to get on the same page. When they did get on the same page more towards the end of last season, it was pretty good. So yeah, I don't think age is much of a factor here. He takes care of himself, and he's a pro. He's not going to blame it on age or anything. So I think it's more of just Ben Johnson's system wanting to be more of a run-first team, outside zone team, those kind of short throws. I think that's more of a factor than it all.
Zach, how do you feel like the Bears did in the transaction? Because a lot of us here, I like DJ Moore. I can easily agree with what my partner just said. He's the best receiver the Bills will have had since Diggs was here in his prime. But the cost seemed like the Bills did the Bears a real favor. Like, was there a sense you were getting, just in media circles or even within the fan base, that the Bears were obviously they wanted to offload the contract given the hierarchy they've got there with other weapons that are, more prominent than DJ Moore was last year. So it made sense. But I wonder if the Bills had waited, maybe they could have just signed the guy as a free agent. Like, I feel like the price was pretty steep.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I was completely shocked they got a second-round pick. When these, we entered the offseason and we kind of had a little idea maybe they're going to let them go or try to trade them just because of that cap number. I kept on hearing, day 3 pick. You're talking 4th, 5th round, 6th, 7th round pick. And I'm thinking, man, that's probably what it's going to be for DJ. And then, at the combine, just kind of talking to people, it felt like Bears are having, a hard time finding the right package for them and the right team to give them that package. And I think, throwing in that 5th round pick obviously gets you the second back. But what's, interesting is the money that Buffalo's going to have to take on and the guarantees and all that. I do feel like the Bears got the better end of the deal there. But we'll see. Whatever that second round pick turns out to be, could be the difference in this trade. It also could be one of those rare trades where it works out for both teams. But we'll see. I do think the Bears getting that second round pick was huge because now they have so many needs on the defensive side of the football that they almost had to get that if you're giving up a player like DJ Moore.
Apologies if you've said this particular thing already, Zach, but I wonder if sort of you would be on the same page as the Bears in how they kind of prioritize their skill position guys, how they prioritize their receivers and Loveland. Like, is this the right move? Is this the right player if they're going to, yank someone out of there? Is this the guy to do it with?
If he didn't have that cap hit, I would say no. Like, I would say you keep him. I just think they put themselves in a tough spot now, with that cap hit this year that they had to make some key decisions. Because I do think I'm of the thought that you can never have way too many weapons in the offense. And I know I said there's only one football earlier, but I think with Ben Johnson, he can find ways to get guys involved. The other factor in this now that, on the Bears side is Rome Odunze was really good the first 5 or 6 weeks. I think he was leading the NFL in touchdown passes. He got hurt and he was not the same the rest of the year. And that was supposed to be a year for a top 10 pick where you take the next step. Now, I'm not ready to write him off, but I would have felt more comfortable if Rome, was healthy and took that next step in his career. But I guess to answer the question, it's not for the contract. I wouldn't have moved him, but I do feel better now knowing that, they do have at least something behind him with Luther Burden and Rome Odunze and Colston Loveland. And they might not be done. They might be going out and getting a wide receiver in the draft. So if there is a team that can handle this type of loss, I think it is Ben Johnson and the Bears just because he's so good at scheming things up. But it might hurt, too. DJ's a really good player at this age still.
And they have a second-round pick, an additional second-round pick to spend it on if they wanted to draft a receiver.
Too, yeah.
Zach, I remember talking to you a while back, and it was always just sort of an easy, criticism of the Bears, just how in their – are they not the oldest franchise in the league, they and the Packers? Despite that, just never having the wide receiver one, the quarterback, the Johnny Morris trivia question, how is that the guy's name, the all-time franchise leader in receiving yards? Just like, who's that? All of it with the Bears. Almost literally just like never having an explosive passing game. Now, do they? The numbers are really good last year for Chicago. Is your opinion that, like, sky's the limit with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson at this point? What a step forward they made together last year. And do you also think, from your interactions, that Bears fans are right there with that, kind of optimism for the future?
Yeah, I think that's the general vibe. I think, going into this offseason, obviously the biggest question mark's run defense. You lose your center and Drew Dahlman to retirement. That's not easy, but they didn't really have a lot to replace on offense. They still have to find a left tackle due to another injury. But other than that, I think the confidence is there that, okay, we have Caleb Williams, we have Ben Johnson. This will be the second year, the second offseason for them together. What they showed last year, even starting 0-2, and not only starting 0-2, blowing a 2-score game in the fourth quarter and then just getting run out of the building in Detroit the next week, they very easily could have folded. They went on a run. They had a favorable schedule. Can't deny that. But they took care of games, and they won games they should have won. So what I saw last year, I saw an offense get better as the weeks went on. I saw a run game get better. I saw the pass game get better. I saw Caleb Williams get better. I'm excited for a full offseason of them two together again and what they can do now. I think that's kind of the general feeling here in Chicago is finally, okay, we have, a kid that can be consistent and stay in the game and, throw the football and make those wow throws. I do think he needs to get better at, Caleb, in terms of consistency with the easier throws. But he's got a world-class arm. And when you talk about, the best arms in football, it's Josh Allen, it's Patrick Mahomes. I think Caleb Williams is getting right there. I think this is the year he has to take that step in the top 10. And I think, I'd be shocked if he didn't. He probably should have had 4,000 passing yards last year. There was a couple bad drops, but he's well on his way to finally hitting that mark here in Chicago.
I prefaced all that with the past about the Bears, and I want to follow up with this too. Not all fan bases are really comfortable being optimistic. It's not in every sports fan's nature, and I mean that's applied to us. I would say Philadelphia is such a place. I wonder how it feels to be optimistic for the Bears.
It's the best way I can describe how that season went last year was they became like must watch again in the city. I think everyone still watched them, but like those last few weeks, starting with that Saturday game against the Packers, I was at the game working, but I had friends that went out and every bar was full of Bears fans, and then playoffs and all that, and it's different. Like when there is optimism there, when there is hope, and there's wow, we got this guy, like we got we got Ben Johnson. It's a totally different sports town, and we have two baseball teams, and I always tell my friends, I said, you're a Cubs fan, you're a White Sox fan, but you're a Bears fan. Like if they ever win the Super Bowl again, this town will be unreal. And I know in Buffalo, you guys struggle with the Bills, not getting over the hump, and I kind of feel like it's almost the same there too, in a way where having that hope, you get that quarterback, and you get, you kind of get a taste of the playoffs, but eventually you got to get over that hump. I think that's kind of what the Bears want to get to in terms of, where Buffalo's at right now. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying just hearing all of this about how it's grown, because I think, even just as recently as last offseason, right, Ben Johnson shows up, and it was not, to me, a slam dunk in the summer that he and Caleb Williams were going to – it seemed kind of – there was friction on the practice field, and I guess, you look back at it now and go, that was just a part of the method, right? I'm going to coach the kid hard and hopefully get the result. But at the time, it's like Williams' reputation off his rookie year probably wasn't great with everyone in the fan base, maybe even some teammates, who knows? But it all sort of came together. Like Ben Johnson put it all together. Like he had every piece. He's got the scheming and all that, but the locker room stuff, like seeing him with his players – like, to me, there's no question. Like, they've got a good thing going there now. But I don't know. Like, a few months before the season began, that wasn't a sure thing at all.
They also got the Tyler Dunn treatment right before the season
started.
That's
what I'm referring to. That too. Yeah.
Yeah. And Caleb needed the hard coaching. He needed Ben to get on him from the start. And it's totally different from the Matty Rufus to Ben Johnson era in terms of accountability, having guys believe in the locker room, things like that. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, there was a little, friction. There was some struggles in minicamp and before the training camp session started with accuracy and Ben Johnson getting on the offense. And I remember, more than 5, 6, 7 times they would have to restart a drill because the offense wasn't lining up right. And he would get on Caleb, and he'd get on Cole Kmet. He'd get on, anyone. Ben Johnson was not going to let you slide. He was going to make you redo it all. So, Yeah, I think Ben Johnson brings the right attitude here, and with Caleb too. I think Caleb has really bought into that, and that's good for him.
I hope that didn't sound like a shot at Tyler. He's a great friend of ours. He hits hard when he hits. That's all I meant.
Yes, I know him too. He's a good guy. I know him too.
So taking a look as we finish up here with Zach Pearson talking about DJ Moore coming to the Bills, made official today, and the offseason. I mean, how the balance of power isn't quite right, but for a few years here, Zach, it was about the elite quarterbacks and teams in the AFC. And now we had a season where some of those teams slipped, changing of the guard a little bit, although Buffalo had another great season. And in the NFC, wow, look at the NFC North. You have Seattle from the back of the pack going all the way. Philadelphia stayed good. Rams, Niners. How do you see the future? I wonder if Detroit might to you look like a team that could start to go the wrong way with some changes to their roster. You might not feel that way. Green Bay, Minnesota, probably Kyler Murray now. There's a lot to look at in the NFC.
Yeah, it's a tough conference. I mean, you look at the West getting, those 3 playoff teams. The North got 2 of them, and almost had, could have had another one if the Lions weren't upset by the Steelers. So, yeah, it's a tough division again for the Bears. That's kind of the issue. Because, I'm not ready to count Detroit out just yet. I think if this year they struggle and regress, I'd be all right. Like, maybe I'm not worried about them in the future, but they're still a pretty good team. They beat the Bears twice last season, and Green Bay, it's for whatever reason, they had the Bears number up until this year. They're always tough, but the NFC in general, Seattle, I don't think they're getting worse. I think the 49ers and Rams got better. I think the East is really interesting because I think the Commanders got a lot better, and I think Dallas is going to be a sneaky good team this year. I think they have a high-powered offense. I think their defense will be better. So you just kind of look around, and it kind of feels like what you were saying, where the NFC is kind of now starting to rise up, and the AFC is maybe taking a little bit of a step back. We'll have to see. I mean, obviously that depends on the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Ravens. I think Buffalo will still be up there, and Denver will too. But yeah, it's a tough conference to be in right now for the Bears.
Yeah, Caleb Williams will have a lot to say about the big picture in the NFC, as will Jordan Love. I mean, he's a few years into his career now, but Caleb Williams is a big one, 101 pick. Very good, Zach. Anything else you want us to know? Your work at Bear Report, what kinds of, now that the official offseason is here, or the official league year, rather, is here, what can we look for?
Yeah, just daily coverage, updating what I know about the Bears. We're doing grades on the signings, and now that everything's official, we can call them signings. And maybe, the Bears might be on Max Crosby watch again. We'll have to kind of pay attention to that. But, no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'll be out there in Buffalo for the Bears game this season, new stadium, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I have some family out there, so I'm looking forward to seeing them too.
Wonder if it could be week 1 or week 2 to open the stadium.
Yep. Week 1 or 2 sounds ideal. Probably a primetime game, too.
Full circle. We started talking about a week 1 Bills-Bears game.
Right.
And here's another. Possibly. We don't know that yet. Thank you, Zach. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Zach Pearson of Bear Report. Yeah, we don't know the schedule yet. The Sabres are a big distraction from my usual time spent trying to figure out, which is almost always entirely futile, what the schedule will look like.
We'll squeeze it in. In fact, we can squeeze in this nugget now if people didn't hear the schedule news today. There is often schedule news. The schedule news today is that the league is looking at a Thanksgiving Eve game. Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve. Squeeze one in.
Squeeze another game, another day of the week.
Just parachute in on a Wednesday.
I only have one objection. I'm not all righteous about how much football there is. I feel like the ship has sailed. A long time ago, I thought it was too much, and they'll probably burn it down, and that has not happened.
Yep.
Wednesday night is waivers.
Yeah, well.
Waivers are tough when the week has already started before they've run. We might have to do something about that.
Thanksgiving Eve to me is for watching a hockey game. But that's it. I don't want to. I feel, for me, and I think a lot of Buffalonians feel the same way. It's like obviously it's a holiday that's not a holiday, but the Sabres, a home game on that Wednesday is a part of it, and a football game is just going to get in the way to me. I don't like it. It's a hockey day for me. You've got Thanksgiving. You've taken over Christmas. Just get out. I don't need you on a Wednesday. But you're right. I mean, saturation. It's never going to be too much.
Is there a saturation
There
point?
is not a saturation point. It just keeps coming back for more. So I've given up that too. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to bitch and moan. I don't need a Wednesday game. I mean,
You've got to give yourself, room to do that. We will take a break. 803-0550. You know we're not.
Do we want to squeeze news in here?
The Bills are signing Bradley Chubb to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal. It's worth up to $52.5 million.
All right. Is he good anymore?
I don't think so.
You see, I was just saying you have to keep that capacity, what you were just describing, in tow, because you might need it, and here, you're already back to it. And I might be right there with you. Huge money? We'll figure out more. Sal Capaccio coming up at 5. Lines open for your calls, 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Bills are adding to their pass rush as multiple reports have them signing edge rusher Bradley Chubb to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal that does include $29 million guaranteed. This move is not official, but the Bills have made the trades with DJ Moore and Taron Johnson official, and we'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capaccio joins the show in just about a half hour at 5 p.m. The other big news around the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens signing edge rusher Trey Hendrickson today to a 4-year, $120 million deal. $60 million of that is fully guaranteed, and this does come after last night when the Ravens backed out of their trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby. For the Sabres, no game or practice today. The team, though, has won 8 in a row. For more on yesterday's win, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. It is a quick turnaround, though, for the Sabres. They're back in game action tomorrow night when they host Washington. And then in college hoops earlier today, the A-10 tournament got underway, and the Bonnies, they took down LaSalle 99-80. The Bonnies are next up when they face George Mason tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I think Bradley Chubb was still productive last year. The sack numbers don't jump out to you, but 8.5 sacks is still a pretty decent season. It's not for somebody with a $31 million cap hit this year, but it's a decent season considering he was double-teamed on, I think, like 26% of his rushes. Like, every other Dolphins player was allergic to the quarterback until, like, week 9. But no pass rusher, no edge rusher was even remotely close to being impactful for Miami last season other than Bradley Chubb. I think that was more of a financial standpoint.
Marcel Louis-Jacques, ESPN, widely reported that the Bills are signing Bradley Chubb, who may have been, I'm sure Marcel is correct, the best Dolphins pass rusher. Was he good? Sure we're going to hear a range of opinions.
Was he good? Is he good?
And is he worth the money?
Is this a good idea? The money's pretty modest by edge rusher standards. You know, it's not even $15 million a year. At the face value, three for 43.5. I think I saw maybe it can incentivize to 52 or something. So it's not. It's a little like it's sort of like a Josh Palmer. You know what I mean? Like a similar level move at receiver last year.
Bigger name.
Sure, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Why is it a bigger name? Well, he was a high pick, and he was famously traded. You know, the trade Miami made to get him has been kind of laughed at, I think, for years. That they overpaid in that trade. That doesn't make him a bad player. It just, makes him someone who was traded for maybe more than he should have been. So, yeah, I think his name more than Josh Palmer. But in the marketplace, I'm just saying they're similar. They're middle class moves to me. Despite the name recognition, the money's not – it's half of what the top guys are getting, which is the middle class to me. It's not, it's not a league minimum, far from it, but it's also not, oh my God, they got a guy, I think he'll help them, but I don't know that it will be dramatic is how I would look at it. I worry about what he's got left.
Well, I wanted to compare it with DJ Moore, but it's not a trade, so there's no quality draft pick going away in this move. It's a typical free agent move, and free agent moves are often, especially in a world where the money is always going up. I mean, it's not even $15 million a year. I mean, what that would have meant 10 years ago or something, I guess that's just not relevant, but it feels like another, okay. I mean, a guy that's probably, is this unfair, past his prime? I mean, he's been in the league 8 years. He missed a season to an injury.
Just 2 seasons ago.
2024, yeah. He's also the player the Broncos picked in 2018 when they could have picked Allen.
Right.
At 5 overall, and there was some speculation that Denver would
he was the
Allen.
Player that was on the board that prohibited Denver from making the trade. I think the story goes that the Bills were set to trade with Denver, but they told the Bills there's a player that if he's there, we're not doing this. And that ended up being Bradley Chubb. So they made that selection, and the Bills pivoted to trading up, I think, to 7, right, with Tampa Bay. So, yeah, I mean, I know that we this news landed on us right as we were going to break last segment. Is he good? Like, he's good. I don't know that he's a meter mover, that he's impactful. It's, you hope to get more out of him than you got out of Bosa. I know that.
I'd hope to get more than 1 hour out of Max Crosby speculation,
right,
by the way.
Right. But I don't know that I will anticipate him being much more impactful than that even. And Bosa started out really well and then just went away as the year went on. So hopefully you get better than that. But they definitely needed to do something, and this is definitely something. I don't think today could have gone by, and this would have been another name. Like if he signed that contract Bradley Chubb did with New England or whatever, some other team, you're like, that's another guy you could have used. Like we're at the point here in this free agency where a lot of the best ideas, the big money guys, all are gone already, and this is one of the last guys I think that was still out there that at least has some name recognition that would be worth even this contract. So it's worth doing. It's not Von Miller to me. Like Von Miller was a different idea, much bigger money when the Bills did that. And I know it didn't end well, but it started out really well. I'm not sure that I would have the same feeling about this guy.
I mean, I don't want to overdo it, but to some extent or another, the Bills are in this cycle, especially at like that position, it seems, where they are chasing hope in free agency and paying, whether or not it's top of the market, it's still like a big investment here. It's a big choice. They're spending and spending to try to find an answer. I don't even know if this player it's a 3-year contract. Would you expect to see him for 3 years? I mean, right? So we're in this cycle of trying to buy the answer on the edge. And, ideally, of course, everybody knows this, you would draft that player. You'd be able to, for as much time or draft capital as they've spent on the front 7, on defense. Like, that's what you want here, is for the Bills to already have maybe even a better version of this player and cheaper. But they don't. And as often as they've tried to accomplish that, they're now again going into the market to try to find somebody to fill the space for a year or two, maybe.
It's one of the reasons why when you asked me yesterday, would I have made the Baltimore trade for Max Crosby, I said yes. Because as much as I would be pained to give up those assets, and as much as you might worry about a guy who's 28 at the time of the trade, going to be 29 by the time the season begins, I know I'm getting someone. I mean, of course, anything can go wrong. Anyone can get hurt. Anything can derail, right? But there's a certain level of expectation you'd have with a player that is at, the top of the heap at his position. And I'm not just hoping that I'm going to get a return to form or impactful. I'm expecting it. I'm paying for it through the nose with draft picks and with the money. This is just, I hope it works.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and you could say that, again, about anything you do in pro sports. You hope it works. But there's, more expectation on a more sure thing. This is not that. This is a lot of basically what they've been doing.
Does it take a new question to think about? Does it take edge? It pushes it down, at least in the draft. You still, I don't want to both sides of my mouth here. The Bills should still want to find an answer at that position. It's supposed to be rich this year.
I would not rule out them drafting an edge at 26.
Okay.
With this move being made.
That feels right to me.
Because you need more than one guy there, and right now they just don't have. They're not very flush there at all. So no, this does not to me. Whereas I would say DJ Moore removes. I see that happen. The cost paid, the contract, what he is as a player.
I agree.
I'm not drafting a receiver at 26. Could I make the case for it? Sure. But are they going to do it? No. I would not say the same thing about edge because of this move. I think that would still be very much in play for them at 26. Receiver could be too. I don't happen to believe that they would double down on that. Edge, I think that is still very much in the window.
Me too. That feels right to me. I said about Moore, no way are they drafting a receiver now in the first round. They don't have a second now.
Right.
So I think that's out. Too many other needs. That's still one. And I think I would say the same, that I wouldn't rule it out. Part of it is what I've heard about the draft too. Like
that it's
distribution of talent.
You might be able to do pretty well drafting an edge at 26.
Yeah. Even if he has short arms.
Right.
I don't find any Jim Leonard overlap. It's a guy who's been with Denver, Chubb, but with the Dolphins for 3 or 4 seasons now.
Right, so not while Leonard was in Denver.
Was not, and he wasn't in Denver until 2 seasons ago. He's had 2 years with the Broncos. So I don't find any overlap there, although there probably are position coaches that had Chubb in Denver. It might have been, people that Leonard would have consulted and, had relationships with. So maybe there's a little bit indirectly between the new defensive coordinator and Bradley Chubb. We'll talk to Sal at 5. Pretty big story today. It is the first year of the league year in the NFL, or the first day, of the league year and the first year. The first day of the league year in the NFL. So a lot of moves we've been talking about for a few days here, including the DJ Moore trade, which goes back to last Thursday.
Yeah.
Is official.
So it's a fun day on social media because you're getting lots of announcements that look like they might be important, and they're all basically the teams affirming what we knew on Monday.
Yeah. You could have taken a couple days off.
It's kind of frustrating. It can be but then, every now and then you get a Bradley Chubb breaking news. Like, that's new. That was not reported on Monday.
Right.
But it's a lot of repetition today.
Yeah, the Bills tweeting trade alert about DJ Moore. It's like almost a week.
Yeah, Taron Johnson, same thing. Like, all right, thanks.
803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here with Sal at 5. This is WGR. Whether for your home or We'll talk more about the breaking news from this hour. The Bills signing Bradley Chubb, late of the Dolphins, to a pretty healthy contract today. Sal Capaccio joins us at 5 to analyze that and also what went down between the Ravens and the Raiders and ultimately Trey Hendrickson acquired by Baltimore from Cincinnati. That's all coming up. You know the name Corey Dropkin?
I don't think I do.
Mixed doubles curling at the Olympics.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, I've got his rookie card.
I would believe it. I know you're a collector, and you're a serious one, and you collect curlers. If put another way, if there were curling cards, you'd have them. You would have this guy. No, I don't know. But they won silver. He and Cody TC won silver. It was great. And I saw a picture of Dropkin today getting a new tattoo on the inside of his wrist, forearm, with the Olympic rings. And I wanted to ask you, to do that, do you have to win a medal? Do you have to actually make and compete in the Olympics? Do you have to just aspire to compete in the Olympics? Where's the line for when you can get an Olympic rings tattoo? I can't get an Olympic rings tattoo just because I like to watch the Olympics. That would not be good enough.
I think I would make room for someone who's into tattoos. It doesn't really matter if they're into tattoos or not, but I'm just imagining some 15 or 16-year-old kid whose parents let him go get ink if he wants, or she, and they are an aspiring athlete and they want to get the rings. I think that's fine. I'm going to be training. Whether I'm in the pool or I'm in the weight room or wherever I am, and I'm going to see on my forearm the Olympic rings while I'm lifting weights or whatever I'm doing. I think that works. Like I think as you get older, and if you don't make it, I don't think that's embarrassing at all. I was training; it was serious. I had a look at it, or even if you didn't have a look at it, whatever. You wanted it. You wanted inspiration, and so you put it on your body. I don't think that's embarrassing at all. That's not like spelling something wrong or putting whatever. It's credible to me.
Okay.
But I think
you could just get the World University Games logo tattooed on your arm.
Right.
But okay.
Or
Let's try to be realistic.
The SEC outdoor track meet logo.
Something more modest.
Right. But I think I could give you that. I think that's I kind of like it.
I think if I were this guy, I'd get the tattoo in silver. But I didn't notice that he did that.
Right.
I mean, I actually have one, an Olympic medal.
Other than that, I think if they went and finished 14th, you were in the Olympics. Tattoo yourself away. Go nuts.
You kind of want the teenager who aspires to it to already have another tattoo, it sounded like.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
A tattoo guy.
I'm thinking you're a tattoo person, right?
Not your only tattoo to have be the Olympic rings.
But, even then, though, I could still see it because of the motivation that I think you'd be getting from it.
My kids have never asked me for one.
Yeah.
They're still younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not going to ask me.
When Owen was still playing, I don't think he had any tattoos when he was still playing, but as soon as he was done playing, and he's modest. He's got on one arm, he's got like 3 or 4 tattoos now. Don't ask me to tell you what they all are.
Our logo?
No. But
Dad's logo? Really? No.
He like no Olympic rings, but he's got a Wilco thing. He's got a Jack White thing. He's got a couple of music things.
A Just Called Jed Studios tattoo, perhaps?
Yeah.
He spends a lot of time around here now. ADP chasing, if you missed it last night. Bulldog, you won't want to see it because we did sort of talk up the Jets. I was not the leader.
I don't believe you.
I was not the leader. But Geno Smith, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and maybe like another top receiver. Could that be an interesting team?
No.
Improved line. What is that to say? They're always
I don't mean
terrible.
to be dogging your content.
All right.
You,
That's out there on YouTube.
You got to discuss everything, but my ruling, no.
Sal next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Bills have added to their pass rush as they are reportedly signing Bradley Chubb to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal worth up to $52.5 million, and this does include $29 million guaranteed. We have more on this signing up at our website, WGR550.com. And with the new league year starting at 4 p.m., the Bills have also been able to make their trades from the last few days official. That includes DJ Moore coming in from Chicago and Taron Johnson going to Las Vegas. We'll get more on the Bills and the NFL as Sal Capaccio will join the show next. The big news, though, in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens, they are signing edge rusher Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $120 million deal with $60 million of that fully guaranteed, and this does come after the news from last night, the Ravens backing out of their trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby. And then the Colts, they lock in quarterback Daniel Jones to a 2-year, $88 million deal that could be worth up to $100 million. For the Sabres, no game tonight or practice. The team, though, does have now 8 wins in a row. And for more on yesterday's win, Paul Hamilton does have a piece at our website, WGR550.com. It will, though, be a quick turnaround for the Sabres. They're back in action tomorrow night at home when they host Washington, while for the rest of the league tonight, it's a very light schedule, just 2 games. Both are at 7:30. The Senators hosting Montreal and Washington at Philadelphia. And in college hoops, the A10 tournament is underway, and the Bonnies, they took down LaSalle earlier today, 99-80. Bonnies are next up. They face George Mason tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Just to finish briefly the conversation we were having, I do think it might be a thing, not everybody, it's relatively few. I do think it might be a thing where college players go to the NFL and tweak the pronunciation of their name. I think a few guys have done that. You watch college clips to find out how a player's name is pronounced, and then they get to the NFL and they tell you, no, it's not Achane, it's Achan. And Romeo Dobbs was something else until he got to, like, I think maybe there might be a strategy in that somehow. Like, what? It sounds ridiculous, right?
The strategy part, maybe, yeah.
I'm not getting to Hellenus, Bulldog. I'm just not. I mean, there's just, I know it's his name. He can decide, but I just can't believe that's how you pronounce it.
It's easy enough to say. I will hold up the Hellenus side of things.
Can't believe that's right.
I will do it.
There's another guy in the league, right, with the same name. It's pronounced the proper way.
The proper way we're going with now?
Yes.
You are so righteous about this stuff.
I don't know why people don't come along. Here is C-A-P. Capaccio. Sal Capaccio with us. That's got to be right, Bulldog. There's no other way to pronounce that name. Sal with us on the West Her Hotline. Do you have a story about your name, by the way? Like a family story about how...
I used to not be able to say it very well.
Sal's name?
When we say, yeah, I feel like I used to didn't I used to sort of botch your name a little bit? Or am I misremembering?
I don't know if you ever did. I mean, obviously the one big thing people do is say Carpaccio because of the meat, right? I mean, like people say it all the time. Oh yeah, Sal Carpaccio. I'm like, and I always say like, that's the meat. I don't have an R in my name. I'm just Capaccio.
This clip we played just now, Sal, doesn't help.
I know, but yes, that's right. That's kind of the joke. But it is true. That does happen. No, not much of a story, I guess. A lot of times when immigrants come over from certain, countries like Italy back in the day, they might take the name on of a town. There is a town called Capaccio, but my family is not from there. But I believe there is a town in Italy called Capaccio.
And your family changed your last name at some point along
the
way, right?
My dad's dad changed Parker to Parker from Parzinski. That was the name that I think he grew up with. I think it was while he was alive that they changed the last name.
Okay, names. Box checked. Next box.
How do you pronounce Chubb?
Bradley Chubb.
Is there an alternate pronunciation of Chubb?
I don't know if I want to know.
Unless it's Chube that we don't know about, right? I mean, do you want to know what his nickname is on Pro Football Reference?
I happen to know it. It's actually also his handle on Twitter and Instagram.
Bulldog?
Now,
Chubbs?
you'd have to know it to know it.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
Astronaut.
It's astronaut.
Right.
I'm not really sure why, Mike. You might know the story there.
I don't.
I'm not really sure.
I don't. But it's a good transition from
bad.
names to this player. It's a good thought,
Yeah,
Sal.
for sure, for sure.
Done a good
This
job.
player.
How did the Bills
This
do
is
here?
this is the guy that John Elway chose instead of Josh Allen in the
Right.
2018 draft, and later said that not taking Josh Allen was a big regret, but he kind of blamed it on the coaching staff. But it's funny now because obviously, Josh and Bradley Chubb are going to be teammates. This was not a player that I thought was, the high-end pass rusher that they could go out and sign. And, he's not getting the kind of money or acclaim or deal that you would see a Max Crosby or a Trey Hendrickson. I think that he fits better, with the Bills scheme now, what they're going to do than what it had been. If they, any talk in the past, I think he can come in and do that. Coming off the ACL last year, if you would have said to me last year, would have scared me, but he did play 17 games last year, which is good. So yeah, I think he can fit in. I think it's fine. It's not a player that I'm, doing cartwheels over, but it's also not a player that I think he can help the defense for sure, given, Jim Leonard, what he wants to do with the defense. So he'll fit in just fine. And, we'll see on this Buffalo Bills squad. He does have his best 2 sack seasons since his rookie year. His best 2 sack seasons are his last 2 years healthy in the league. 8.5 last year, and then 11 before the ACL injury. But like I said, he's a full, 2 years removed this coming year of that.
Yeah, I like how you describe the money. We every year, I think Mike and I were the same way about Palmer. Like the deal comes down and we hear it's $12 million or 13, or in this case it's close to $15 million a year, and Mike says it's big money, and I'm over here going, it's not. It's like middle class, not big money. It's a lot of money, but it's not in the NFL big money.
It's big money for who he is the point, really.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry. And I would say that about this, I think.
I don't know. I think the money. I guess I disagree. I think it's about what 8 sacks last year should cost you about $15 million a year. I think I want to say. I don't think the contract is outrageous at all, or even big money. So I'm glad we're hashing this out. I'm sorry we're wasting your time, Sal.
No, it's okay. And let's remember, it's always the guarantee money that really counts more than anything, right, guys? I mean, it's $29 million guaranteed, so it's less than $10 million a year guaranteed. So at the end of the day, how many of these guys really see the full number on the contract that we see the agent give the reporters? 43.5 is, I'm sure, the very top end of what he could make, but he's actually only getting 29 over 3 years guaranteed. And then we'll see how the numbers wash when it comes to cap hit, adding in void years, things like that. I'd be surprised if it wasn't like, a lower cap hit this year, more money down the road, like they usually do with these kinds of things.
And how soon can you get out of it if it doesn't go well? Right? Like, how much pain is there a year from now if this, that didn't really work?
That's right.
There is always
that's
that.
Right.
Sorry to be, that's the world we live in. Like Von Miller signs 6 years, whatever that was, $120 million. Well, how soon can they get out of it?
Yep, I know, right?
Always right there, like, yay, we signed a guy. How soon can we get rid of him?
Well, a couple things from me on this. I'm not going to try to pretend that I'm the Bradley Chubb expert or anything like this, but what I've heard about him doesn't sound super good. But it's a big name, and you need somebody. What can you do about this, Sal, other than draft the right guy one of these years? The Bills are just, again, chasing an answer at that position and having to pay, whether it's a lot or a real lot, to a veteran, probably on the downside of each of their respective careers in that attempt. So ideally, you'd be able to draft somebody who's better, and they're here for longer and cost less. That's what they're always trying to do, and that has been hard for them.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that they've been the best at with that lately has been Greg Rousseau. But, Greg Rousseau isn't, he's not a Max Crosby, of course. He's not a Trey Hendrickson. He's had some nice numbers along the way. He's had some impactful games. But overall, I think you're wanting more in those departments from Greg Rousseau. A.J. Epinesa, a guy that they drafted, had some nice numbers at times, had some plays along the way. But, you want more a little bit there. And then now he's a free agent now as well, by the way. And Greg Rousseau's a fine player. He got, he earned, a contract extension. Nothing wrong with that. But they've taken these swings at really guys who can get after the quarterback, guys who can put the passer down. And that's what they've wanted to do here. And that's why you've seen Von Miller. That's why you've seen Joey Bosa. And honestly, Bradley Chubb is just in the line of that. He's not making the same money as those guys, but it feels like that, which is, hey, we haven't been able to draft and develop that position the way we wanted to, so we've had to go out and pay a little bit more maybe than, we'd want to in a different situation to bring in a guy like that, and you hope that that's Bradley Chubb. I'm always just really now in a mindset of wondering how these things change with Jim Leonard as the coach and with the new scheme, because we've just been so used to Sean McDermott's scheme, and then just put this guy here and you know what he's going to do. I'm just super curious how they use a lot of these guys, and that's the next kind of challenge and intrigue for me moving forward.
And I think that sort of dovetails right into why, if fans are, look, you have to give the speech every year at this time. Like you get a long time to put your roster together, right? It's not all moves that need to be made in the first 24, 48, 72 hours of free agency. But I get the sense that the fan base is a little itchy, and a part of it is, I think, largely what you just alluded to. I've got a new scheme on that side of the ball. I probably am going to need at least, first of all, I have holes that I need to fill, and I also might need different sorts of players than some players that are here. And the Bills just have not been real busy at all here. I mean, they made the DJ Moore trade. They signed a corner to replace Taron Johnson, I presume, right, the other day. And now this, and that's really it. Like, it's, so, the idea of, like, the linebacker from Kansas City, Chenal, like he signs a modest contract in Washington. Like, oh, how come we didn't do that? How come we didn't do that? And there's just not a lot happening to sort of fill in what is, going to be a new scheme. And I think that's got a lot of us maybe kind of just, well, what are we doing? Like, are we going to get busy rebuilding this roster or what?
Yeah, as it currently stands, there are still, by my count, 11, actually 12 now, because Balen Spector, he was, not given a tender, but he's a guy that counts here too. It looks like 12 unrestricted free agents still on the defensive side, only 2 on the offensive side, guys, which is crazy, right? And that's because that they've kind of leaned into, we're going to overhaul a lot of this. We're going to have different players there. And that doesn't even include the guys who've already left, which is, Cam Lewis, Darnell Savage, so a couple of them. So you're really talking about, a turnover of maybe 14 players here that were on the roster that won't be on the roster again next year. On the offensive side, that is not the case. They have traded for DJ Moore, and they have signed Kyle Allen. Otherwise, they brought back Alec Anderson. They brought back today Ryan Vandermark. The only 2 unrestricted free agents on the roster as of today are Brandon Cooks and Gabe Davis. They did lose Reggie Gilliam and Dave Edwards, of course, right? So the offensive side is very much intact, and they have the offensive coordinator now being the head coach. The defensive side, this is where it's been trending for months now, which is, look, they have some players there they're going to retain, but by and large, a lot of the roster is just going to get turned over.
You and I talked at the time of the DJ Moore trade, and I brought up drafting a wide receiver with the first-round pick now that you've made this move with your second. And I said, no way. You said, don't entirely want to rule it out, if I remember correctly. Bulldog is also a no on this. Same question, edge rusher after this trade. I would not want to rule it out. You said also you would not want to rule it out. How about you, Sal?
I would not rule it out. I would say there's a big caveat here, though. I don't know. We would really have to depend what they feel about Michael Hoyt's health. How quickly can he come back? How impactful can he be? How early? If the answer to that is, yeah, we're really not sure, I definitely wouldn't rule it out. If the answer to that is, no, we're pretty confident, like he's going to be back, he'll be fine, I would not rule it out. I still wouldn't rule it out, but I think it would be less likely of a chance. Michael Hoyt is going to be a really important player for them. They just paid Greg Rousseau. He's going to be an important player. Now they have Bradley Chubb. The other guys don't really totally move the needle in this regard for me, right? Which is Landon Jackson coming off the injury. They do have Andre Jones Jr. on the roster. And then Javon Solomon, who I told you guys the other day, was interesting to me that Brandon Beane brought him up unprompted at the Combine, but I don't think that means that he's some big role. So definitely you could use a fourth guy there, but you also have a few guys who will be in the mix kind of to be the fourth guy there. It really kind of depends to me on how healthy they feel Michael Hoyt is going to be.
Sal Capaccio on the Wester hotline. Are you done over there with the Bills? Because I want to get to Crosby.
I can be. I mean, Crosby needs the rest of the segment.
When we were talking about this earlier, Sal, and the whole intrigue. I guess the Ravens GM is speaking now, by the way, but
yes,
the intrigue around like the physical, and is it a reasonable thing for the Ravens to back out of the trade because the player couldn't pass a physical, given that he had knee surgery, 8 weeks ago, I think I read. And Bulldog said in the course of the conversation, what does failing a physical this time of year even mean? Might you know the answer to that? I mean, are there different physicals based on whether you're coming off a certain kind of injury or anything else that goes into what are teams trying to find out this early in the offseason? But it's not necessarily that early in the process, of course. Free agency is underway.
Well, the physical can be different for every team. They're just trying to find out how healthy the person is, and especially when you are coming off an injury, they're going to, check on specifically that injury. Short term, long term, we've heard a little bit about that today. Like, where is he short term? Where is he going to be long term? How comfortable are we, with bringing this player in? A lot of times this happens when you sign a player. Like the Bills, they agree to terms with D. Alford. Well, when D. Alford gets to Buffalo, they'll take a physical before they actually sign a contract with him. We've seen that before. Guys fail a physical, so they don't actually, play. I just think this particular case kind of smells a little bit to me, a little bit different, and I don't like it. I think the Ravens, they kind of played a game here, the way I can see it. And the reason is, guys, I've been in this league long enough to know how information gets disseminated around each team and how teams kind of find things out. There's enough information on Max Crosby's knee, and there should have been available to the Baltimore Ravens, where they should not have been taken by this huge surprise suddenly about this knee and where he is. The doctor, apparently, that performed the surgery, I believe is the Cowboys doctor, Dr. Cooper, who also works on other players. And that's the key there to think about. Like, these doctors, they share information. And I know we can talk about HIPAA and stuff like that, but that's what happens when you go to the combine. You go to the combine, it's a team of doctors, different guys from different clubs. They're checking on guys. There is a lot of information that all these teams have access to. They talk with each other all the time. That's why you felt, and that's why you saw yesterday, the Ravens kind of blaming the Raiders a little bit overnight last night, that they didn't disclose this or that. No, I'm not buying it. I think the Baltimore Ravens saw the market for Trey Hendrickson coming down and said, we might have a little bit of an out here. We can kind of go get that guy and not give up the picks and pay maybe less money here. So let's go do that. That's what I think happened.
It appears the GM here is going hard. The Ravens GM, who's, like Mike said, speaking now. Acosta, thank you. With the story that they wanted to have both guys on the team. That they were talking to Hendrickson before they knew that Crosby was going to have the failed physical, and I don't know. That to me is the smelliest piece of this whole thing.
See, that justifies your Schefter take now.
Yeah, right.
Because Schefter's representing that Hendrickson thought he was going to play with Crosby, or that he might have.
And absolutely he was told to say that by the team, I think.
Yeah, that's the Ravens' position, is that they were going for both guys.
Right. And I think that's insane, Sal. Like, my mom wouldn't think you could pay two edge rushers $30 million a year and have a $50 million quarterback. I mean, what are we doing?
No, that's right. And they've lost some guys on offense. They lost a center, I believe they lost a guard, they lost a tight end, they lost their fullback, and they're going to pay all this money to edge rushers. And like you said, still have Lamar Jackson, and had a little bit of trouble protecting him last year and keeping him healthy. I will tell you that. I can guarantee you people around the league are just not happy. And I know we've seen some of that. There's some reporting about that. There are reasons sometimes, though, to back out of a trade because of a physical. Sure. That can happen. There's no doubt. Like, you can make a trade. The guy goes in, you're like, you know what? This guy, we didn't, know about this, so we're going to fail the physical. That has happened. I'm saying in this particular case, I don't believe that happened quite like that. This is too high profile of a player, too high profile of a move to make without knowing all of the information that the Ravens should have, and I think did know, but then saw that other thing happening over here and going, wait a minute, do we really need to do this? We have an out here. And for them to basically screw the Raiders over this now, which is the Raiders have all these agreements with guys that they're going to sign contracts to, thinking they have $30 million off their books, by the way, and now they have to come back and fit those guys in, thinking they have 2 extra first-round picks, so now they're operating through free agency thinking that way. Now they don't have that. I just think it smells.
We, as a group, not ruling out the Bills drafting an edge rusher at pick 26, are ruling out the Bills trading for Max Crosby after this signing today.
I am, yes.
It would have gotten off the ground as a topic.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bills are a classic example of a team that you might think would do that.
Yeah.
Win now.
Especially if you were going to pay, 2/3 of the price that originally Baltimore had paid. Which I think was completely plausible. Like if Baltimore, was willing to pay that then, it would make sense that no team is going to answer the phone and go, "Yo, you want the same deal? Sure, I'll make the same deal now." Forget it. You got the Raiders over a barrel. If they want to move the player, they would do it for less. But yeah, I wouldn't think the Bills are in on that now because they've made their move.
Funny how
I would agree with that. Unless he came at a really cheap price, but I don't think the Raiders are just going to give him away. It does kind of feel a little weird though and odd. Like it's just like that Max Crosby doesn't want to be there. I know he went back today, and there's all these stories about Harmony and all that. It just doesn't feel like it's going to end with Max Crosby still being a Las Vegas Raider this year.
Sal, I saw this from Albert Breer. Maybe you did too. Between and including the years 2010 to 2019, a decade, 29 quarterbacks were drafted in the first round. 3 remain with their original team. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. That's the list. Every other quarterback in a decade drafted in the first round is on a new team, capped by Kyler Murray, who will not be back with Arizona. We don't exactly know where yet. Everybody seems to think the Vikings. So how about that?
Wow, what a different time we live in, right? Maybe this was more commonplace than I'm thinking back in the day, so to speak, but it feels like it's not. And maybe the reason was because now you have the first round slotted contracts, right? Where back years ago, I think maybe Stafford was the last guy that got like that draft. 2012 might have been the last time they had no kind of slotting of the draft picks.
Right.
So it was so prohibitive to move off a player, which it just isn't now. If he's not the guy and he doesn't hit, okay, he's like any other rookie. He's not just a quarterback. No matter what position he plays, he's making the same money.
I feel like
no matter where you drafted him.
Sam Bradford is a name that comes to mind because when that wasn't going well for him, it was like, yeah, but they get like $56 million. This is way back then of dead money, and like that's untenable. We just can't do it. We're stuck. Yeah, it's like it used to be like probably 4 years, and now it's 2. Like if it ain't working after 2, you're out. We're going to move on. We're going to pivot to someone else. That's got to be a big part of it, that recent guys here, especially, just teams don't have the patience for it. They just, like, you're not hitting, we're pivoting.
It's a really interesting thing to analyze. It would be a little bit of a sample size thing to pick out that block of time, but it is still interesting. Is it the massiveness of the scrutiny and the news cycles and everything? I mean, coaches get how long when they get a quarterback? I think 3 years at the most, maybe, to win with.
Right.
We also did have one of these other guys that is not on his original team just win the Super Bowl MVP for his 5th team, 4th team, whatever that is. So
he wasn't the Super Bowl MVP, though.
No, you're right. I saw him at Disneyland.
By the way,
his running back was.
That's right.
By the way, there is kind of a 4th guy now, though.
In who?
Geno Smith.
Oh, he's back with the Jets.
Not a first-round pick.
Crap! You're right, Mike. Sorry, I thought I'd get one over on you, but there you go. He is back with his original team, though.
Good job, good effort, Sal.
There you go.
Are the Bills? What has your source told you about the Bills' chances of playing Thanksgiving Eve? Which, by the way, I didn't even know that was a named thing. Thanksgiving Eve. I just called it the night before Thanksgiving, but we might have that this year.
Nothing yet. I have not checked in on that, but Matt and I will definitely be efforting to get Mike North this year, and we'll talk with him about that. One of the many new things that come up every year when it comes to the schedule. So we'll ask him about that. That's a Wednesday night. I mean, the NFL might play Wednesday night week 1, and they might play Wednesday night Thanksgiving now. I mean, we're getting to the point of it's going to be 7 nights a week here at some point.
Is Wednesday night week 1 Australia?
Well,
Maybe.
I don't exactly know how they're going to do it, but because of Australia and because of the opening for the stadium with the, not stadium, but the Seahawks, I guess
saw
it
it speculated
Wednesday,
that
Thursday.
they would do that. Yeah, Wednesday there, Thursday the Super Bowl thing, and then Friday that's been Brazil.
There's not a Friday game this year.
There's not a Friday game this year? Okay.
Right.
Something to do with the calendar.
All right.
It's because of the
high school football.
The high school. It's because of the act that was passed way back a long time ago in the 60s maybe, and starting the second Friday of September, NFL teams cannot play on Friday nights and through November, like Thanksgiving, basically.
Right.
Because
and last
it
year
interfered with high school football.
And last year would have been the first Friday of September. Maybe.
Correct.
It's a week later this year because Labor Day is as late as it can be.
Last
September 8th.
date it could be.
Right?
Right.
That's exactly right.
Very good. Sal, any questions for us?
Are you how dialed in are you on this baseball Italian American game last night? And I guess do they play again tonight? I think. I didn't even know what was going on. So I started to see the tweets
Italy
last
plays Mexico tonight, and
Okay.
because of the way the U.S. handled things and misunderstood the tiebreakers, they need. I'm not sure everything. I saw something about it. They need Mexico to score 5 runs, and they will advance.
And lose.
And lose. Italy needs to win, and Mexico needs to score 5 runs.
Sal, come on. September 7th is Labor Day. It's the first Monday of September. Sorry. Okay. Sal, you're rooting for Italy. Come on, right?
No, it's cool if they win. I mean, against the Americans?
You wouldn't root for Italy? Okay.
No, but it's cool. I'd be like, yeah. I mean, I'll root for them if they're not playing the Americans. I want to see the Americans win.
For folks who don't know, to fill it out, the manager of the U.S. team went on a TV show on MLB Network yesterday talking about how they were going to take it easy last night because they're set. They're through to the next round, and they don't. So I'm going to give guys a day off and all this sort of stuff. And he botched it. It turns out they needed the game, and they've left themselves in a position where they need help now to advance.
Who is it? Mark DeRosa?
DeRosa, that's the guy. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the Olympic hockey, if Italy remember when Italy played Sweden, I think it was like, yeah, I'm all into it. Let's see this. This is cool.
Right.
But I mean, if Italy's playing Team USA, I'm not gonna root for Italy, but it'd be a cool story, of course, and that's cool to see.
Okay. Thanks for your time today, and we'll see if anything else breaks tomorrow.
All right, you got it.
It's Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I think if I had like deep roots, heritage from another country, like a European country, that country versus Team USA in sports, I'd probably root for that country.
Yeah.
I think I would. We win enough. Maybe not in something like the Olympic hockey tournament.
Yeah.
But World Baseball Classic, nah. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, I would need the roots to really know, and I don't have. I mean, I'm multiple generations removed from Europe.
Poland versus Team USA in baseball. I mean, you're not really rooting for USA either. You're not really watching it.
I don't
care that much. Anyway.
I only know all this about what we just talked about just because it seemed kind of funny to me that the manager didn't know the rules.
Yeah, it has not gone great.
Maybe not funny, but
embarrassing.
Yes.
We will talk to Brian Koziol later today, Tee to Green host, Sabres pre- and post-game host as well, about both another Sabres win and the Players' Championship, which starts tomorrow in Florida, the so-called fifth major. Tell us what you think. Bradley Chubb, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, all of that. The Sabres, too. Maybe last night was your night to go to the game and experience all of this, and did it blow your mind? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. This is WGR.
The Buffalo Bills are reportedly adding to their pass rush, as multiple reports have the team signing edge rusher Bradley Chubb to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal. It is worth up to $52.5 million and does include $29 million in guaranteed money. For more on that, we do have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. And with the new league year beginning at 4 p.m., the Bills have also made their trades involving DJ Moore and Taron Johnson officially official. Around the league, the Baltimore Ravens made the biggest splash of the day. They are signing Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $120 million deal. $60 million of that is fully guaranteed. That does come after, though, the Ravens backed out of their trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby. And then to the Sabres, no game or practice today, though. The Sabres now are on an 8-game win streak. For more on yesterday's win, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. The Sabres are, though, right back to it tomorrow night when they host Washington, while around the rest of the league tonight, just 2 games, very late night. Both games are at 7:30. The Senators host Montreal, and then Washington is at Philadelphia. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I talked to other teams that were involved in the Max Crosby talks. Everyone said his agents, C.J. LeBoy and Doug Hendrickson, were up front. Listen, he's not going to be cleared until June. He's not going to do anything in the spring, but he'll be ready to roll before the start of next season. The Ravens saw something that made them nervous about the long-term health of Max Crosby's knee. But when you have committed to trading 2 first-round picks for a 29-year-old superstar pass rusher, it is understood within the league you have now taken on that risk. But no one within the NFL can remember another example of something playing out like this.
Tom Pelissero, the Ravens, I can't say finalize, but make the trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby, then last night pull out and opening the doors for themselves to sign Trey Hendrickson away from Cincinnati. One report says that Crosby was in the building in Baltimore when the Ravens went and flirted with Hendrickson. So, yeah, that's a weird one. We talked about it with Sal. I sort of don't buy it either. Like, maybe Baltimore changed its mind given that Hendrickson didn't sign anywhere for a couple days. And, you know, it was within their rights to do this. And that it looks bad that they did it. But then what?
Right.
What happens next to the Ravens?
I could totally buy. To me, it's a very plausible scenario where the people in charge, like the front office, whatever, whoever's at the level that needed to be involved in this conversation, maybe ownership, they're sitting around and like, oh yeah, well we what are our options, right? Hendrickson's still out there. That's going to be cheaper. We don't have to burn the 2 number 1 picks. It's going to look bad. How bad? Right? You know, can we come up with a story that some people will believe, which I think is what's happening now with this nonsense about how we were going to have both of them on the team, which I just don't buy for a second. But that's just me, right? But even still, like Tom Pelissero and Diana Rossini and like everybody's going to yell. Maybe, I don't know that these people are all yelling. Tom Pelissero wasn't exactly yelling there, but you know what I'm saying. Like, we're gonna take some shots, right? They're gonna be firing at us, questioning our integrity that we did this. But if we have a plausible enough story, who cares if Chris Parker in Buffalo, New York buys it? Like, some people will believe us, and even if they don't, when it's all done, when the dust has settled and Max Crosby is still playing for the Raiders or some other team and we've got Trey Hendrickson, what is going to be the fallout? There won't be any. There absolutely will not be any.
What's funny or not funny when you think about like the reaction to it, Brandon Beane, you know what Q rating means? Do people still use Q rating?
I don't know.
Like it's just sort of your level of popularity on some kind of scale. Beane, for almost the entire time he's been here, I mean, they made the playoffs right away. The Allen draft, home run, grand slam, like from 17 or even like 19, it starts to escalate through 22, 23 before the wide receiver train stuff kind of there was more pushback then. But for most of his time in Buffalo, very well liked.
Yeah.
And I think well respected. Then that started to turn a little bit. And now it seems like almost anything they do is met with, what happened to Brandon Beane? Like, Beane was talking that one day at a press conference recently about needing to have someone in the room to stop him.
Right.
And that person maybe has left the building permanently. I don't know. Like, these moves are all, to me, not moves that really show much restraint. But if he does this, that's what I'm getting to. If he pulls the Ravens act, trades for Crosby, we spend 2 days. The Sabres can wait. This is 2 first-round picks for the premier edge rusher in the league, arguably. Wow. What a move. Not everybody would have liked it. I thought it was crazy that the Ravens would give up 2 1s for him. So I would have probably, it's harder when it's your team, but that's how I wouldn't have loved the move. But it would have been super sexy. And we're all talking about Brandon Beane. Is Brandon Beane back?
Big baller Beane, right.
Like all of that. Is he back? And then he does what the Ravens did, and they pull the rug out from Crosby and sign Hendrickson. And then we all watched the league and all the fans around the league lose their minds over it. Like, what a dirty pool kind of move this is. And I think then is when Beane is back. If he does the thing oh, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Aha, but our guy did it. That would have brought him back into the good graces.
I totally agree.
So
I totally agree.
Down.
And I do not think that this will stick to the Ravens in any real functional way. And that doesn't mean that people around the league aren't suspicious about what they did, nor like maybe feel like some degree of a lack of respect. Like, you might not choose to have to deal with the guy or the team, but if you have to, what are you going to say to your assistant? All right, I'm going to call Baltimore, and then you're going to call him, and it's going to be like talking to like your ex-girlfriend or something. Like, how'd it go? It was okay. It was fine. We made a deal, actually. We traded a second for Kyle Hamilton or whatever. Like, if you need to do business, you're gonna get over whatever personal problem you might have had, objection you may have had with how Baltimore handled this. You might even envy them in the end because they got away with it. Like, I wonder if there is any. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of. I mean, I know what's allowed and what's not to some extent as far as legal tampering and whatnot, but it didn't always used to be that the tampering period meant deals were announced. It meant teams could talk to guys. That's what that 2-day period was, waiting for Wednesday. And then at some point in the lifetime of our show, that it started, like, you got a few things trickled, and now everything just gets announced on Monday. It just all gets announced, and maybe they got to put that genie back in the bottle because of something like this. You don't want to have, because some team, right? We opened today talking about this idea that Trapasso had. He was in here 1 to 3 the last couple of weeks, co-hosting with Nate Geary mostly, and conspiracy theory. Like, did they intentionally try to damage the market and then try to capitalize on it later? Like, I don't agree. I don't think that that's what happened here. But some team could try to do that now. Like, I'm going to try to manipulate the market in some way in my favor, and just because Baltimore got away. What we got a medical leg to stand on over here. We're not going to pass this player. I don't know. Maybe something could change structurally with the way this whole window opens and the legal tampering period because this has happened. But I predict Baltimore is just one of 32 in a couple of weeks.
What conspiracy theory would you take to that party? What would be yours? You said that his friends have to, like, prove it, try to prove it?
I think the idea is the party is everyone makes a presentation, basically.
Okay.
And you can get as far slideshow. I don't know, overhead projector.
Oh,
maybe you could prepare.
Has the show ever sounded
could
older?
You prepare a film strip? Sorry.
PowerPoint.
I just had to get.
I have a favorite.
I had to get film strip in there. I don't know that I have a top of mind.
I not only have a favorite, I have no doubt everybody in the room, everybody would believe it.
You're a JFK fan.
I am a JFK assassination buff, but I have 0% belief that there was a conspiracy in that case.
Okay.
None. I used to. It's easy to do it.
Right.
You throw out a bunch of names and ideas, and that just sort of stop talking. Oh, all right, well, probably right. No, it would be Watergate. Hear me out. I'll just do a short version of it. I know this is going to sound nuts.
Wait, okay, go
I
ahead.
know this is going to sound nuts. The President of the United States hires a group of people that kind of work at the White House to ransack buildings and bug phones and threaten enemies and eventually go as far as to bug the Democratic National Headquarters twice. Second time they get caught. No one would believe that the president, in this case Richard Nixon, would be involved in this. I'm saying he was. I'm saying there was a conspiracy at the highest level. I know it sounds nuts, right? Why would the president bother with such nonsense? I believe he did. And I think it could get to the point where if enough people believe it, he could resign. That's my conspiracy. I bet I could convince all of Chris Trapasso's friends and probably most challenging of all, Chris, super smart guy, that I'm right. And that this was a conspiracy.
I want to check. I don't have time to Google right now, but I think all of that was proven to be true.
Well, I'm telling.
So I don't know.
Depends on what you read.
It's not much of a conspiracy theory. I think
it's
people
totally a
people went to
conspiracy.
jail. I think.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's
when does it not become? Why is it not a theory anymore?
Because people were arrested.
Well, that doesn't have to be right.
Yeah, but
people go to jail all the time for not doing anything.
Yeah.
I think it can still be called a theory.
I think theory's doing a lot of heavy
It's
lifting.
definitely
here. That's
a
what
conspiracy.
I'm saying. I just don't. It definitely was a conspiracy.
It's the definition of it.
I think it was proven to be one, therefore no longer a theory.
We are going to even be willing to pay these
here.
people from a slush fund,
Yeah.
from the committee to reelect the president. No one will see it coming. They'll never find out. We're going to pay the plumbers because they fill the leaks. They plug the leaks. We're going to pay these people hundreds of thousands of dollars from the slush fund to help keep this thing covered up.
Again,
it'll definitely work.
Pretty sure all that happened. Yeah.
Well, see, I'm not sure I've convinced you, but you believe this too. That's the one you could go to Chris's party with. Although I'm already claiming it. If somebody going to his party, I love this.
I don't think.
Can you tell?
I don't think you're playing the game correctly.
I'm totally. What do you mean? Just because there were consequences that you think are like that means they really happened, that doesn't mean it wasn't a conspiracy or a theory. If one of those guys at his party needs one, there it is. There's an instant win. You can have it. You can use that, as Dan Hager once said famously. You can use that.
Don't use
I'm just giving it to you for free. Take it. If you need to look up any of that stuff, go for it. It's easy to do. Bulldog seems to know everything about it. He's done the work. He's done his own research. All right, I'll stop. Brian Koziol, actually 5 minutes ago, I'm looking at the clock going, can I get this in?
You did it.
I did it. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. You know the feeling. It feels good when you have a day and you get something important done. There it is. I've just convinced everybody that Watergate really happened. It feels really good to have that kind of the platform itself in the first place, right? And then to use it for good like that and be effective. It's just, you know the feeling as well as anybody. How good that feels to do. I can go home and, my kids can look me in the eye.
Job well done.
Dad?
Daddy earned his money at the Take Factory today.
What did you do today? I ask my kids how school was. They're usually like, good. If I ask, like, what did you learn? What did you do today? I went to class.
Tell me something. Right.
Just give me anything. Right.
Yeah, right.
It's not. We're not in that window right now.
Yeah.
I think we don't really have those conversations. Steve Kerr wants the NBA schedule cut to 72 games. Are 10 or more games, whatever the number is, do they play 82, worth having if the star players don't play in them anyway? I mean, owners are going to want that revenue, but I think there's a good point here.
I think there is. The only problem I think you could run into is eventually, or maybe even right away, whatever number of games you play, you will find an equation where it's best if your best guys miss some number of them anyways, right? Like,
still too many.
Right, still too many. Like we're gonna still, instead of giving them 10 off, I'm gonna give them 6, and you just proportionally you still have the same problem. Like percentage of games that fans go to that they don't get the guys they bought the tickets to see, that's a problem.
Where is the NHL in this? Are they just too
tough
for it?
The NHL's going to 84 games next year. What the NHL? That's where the NHL is. The NHL's adding.
How don't the NHL players, like the top guys, just don't get games off though? We're not there yet
because it's hockey.
Hockey's too tough.
Right.
Just too tough.
Right.
No load management here.
Although that's going on. Florida's doing that with some guys.
They're calling it. Brian Koziol next.
The Buffalo Bills are reportedly adding to their pass rush as multiple reports have them signing Bradley Chubb to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal and is worth up to $52.5 million and does include $29 million in guaranteed money. With the new league year starting at 4 p.m., we also got the Bills making their trades official, including DJ Moore and Taron Johnson. For more on all of this, we have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. The big move of today, though, belongs to the Baltimore Ravens, signing edge rusher Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $120 million contract. $60 million of that is fully guaranteed, and this does come after the Ravens backed out of their trade with the Raiders involving Max Crosby. For the Sabres, no practice or game tonight. The team, though, did win last night and now won 8 in a row. For more on yesterday's win, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. And for the Sabres, it's a quick turnaround. They're right back in action tomorrow night when they host Washington. While looking at the rest of the NHL tonight, just 2 games on the schedule. Both of them will start at 7:30. The Senators host Montreal, and Washington is at Philadelphia. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp
We were having a very serious conversation about mayonnaise here.
and the Bulldog
And don't even talk to me about weed.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Okay, always great to bring on Brian Koziol because not only can we talk golf with Brian, tee to green Saturday mornings at 7, it's Players' Championship week, but of course also the Sabres, and that was always, for as long as we've all been here together, available. But now it's fun.
Yeah, we never.
Now we want to.
We would almost purposefully avoid talking about the Sabres with Brian.
With anybody.
When we were talking about the majors bets. I mean, enough of that happens in the spring. At least the Masters is in the spring. Like the playoffs are starting. We just haven't had occasion to do it because the Sabres haven't been relevant.
Well, Brian, one advantage you have on us is you're in the building every night. And what is that like now?
It really has been a total 180 turn. It's the atmosphere reminds me of when I was first covering games for the station back those 2 years, the 2 runs to the Eastern Conference Finals coming out of the lockout. And I mean, the crowd has come back and they've come back with like this pent up energy. They've just been waiting and waiting and waiting. I just love how like the crowd is into every shift. Like if there's a good shift with pressure and a lot of good forecheck and puck possession, even without a goal, like there's a huge ovation as they make the change and go off to the bench, or
right.
Even during penalty kills, every clear seems like it's such a
right.
a big crowd reaction along those sort of things. All right, even the hits, people are into it, and that there isn't any, which I know you appreciate, Mike. There isn't any scoreboard or PA prompted chanting or cheering. Like that is something that I love. Like the crowd is intelligent enough to realize, hey, we're helping here. Or we can help here, and to be able to just do it, it's such a refreshing change from obviously a decade or more where you're sitting in there and at times you feel sorry for all these people that paid a lot of money to sit in those seats.
Yeah, but I love this part of it so much, Brian. That one of the Montreal games when things were just starting to really heat up, right? They played Montreal 3 times in a span of a couple of weeks or 3, whatever it was. And one of those games at home, there's a play late where Benson breaks up a play in the neutral zone and the crowd recognizes and applauds. I'm like, we have missed this. We have not been paying enough attention to the games to ever care about a play like that, protecting a 1 or 2 goal lead, whatever it would have been in that case. I don't remember specifically, but I remember noticing the reaction and going I think we're back, or at least we're coming back.
Yeah, it's got to be for those that are season ticket holders, or if you're part of a pack or you split one, the difference between games that you've been going to what they are now. I mean, it feels so good. I don't know if it was with you guys or on the morning show, but I loved what a caller said here the other day about just how they said they're almost hoping, trying to soak this in, don't rush getting to the playoffs. Let's
right.
enjoy this build up too, because there hasn't been any in so long. And now it's trending so well to the point that they're going to make it, that there's not even that on your edge of the seat worry, oh my God, could they blow this? Could they not? Are they going to make it? Are they not? it is just soak in this final month here, and we still have a month because of the Olympics pushing things back. Like they're going to play till April 15th. So regular season wise. So we still have a month of what could be a whole month of enjoyment of what we've been getting. But yeah, in terms of in the building, it's night and day. It's refreshing. For us working on the broadcast, it's energizing because we're hearing things that we haven't heard in years. And, it's definitely a different atmosphere in there.
Well, the next time, hopefully we all won't still all be together the next time we're down as bad as we have been down for the last 14 years, but especially the last 2 or 3 where like all of us diehards even are barely tuned in really to the inner workings and like the results and all of it. It's just like you're dead inside about it. All it takes is just the flicker and everybody's right back. Right, because it was like this before the lockout, and then there was a season-long lockout, and the Sabres came roaring out of that and eventually got hot, and it became the place to be. I mean, the previous 2 or 3 years here under Kevin Adams, Brian, were about as dismal and dark as then would have been, and there was no bankruptcy and league ownership, but as soon as the team warrants your attention, man, we just cannot wait to get back.
Yeah. I think you're right too about what you said these last 2 years. Even in the what you'd label as the darkest of times during the previous decade of them missing the playoffs, I felt like there were like little time periods of like there was in some sense like a goal in mind. Even the tank years, there was a goal. Okay, we're going to be terrible, but the reason is because of this. Like we're going to get McDavid or Eichel or whatever. It felt like we were spinning. And there was no even like, well, what's the end game here for us being bad? Like we're not even maybe hitting the home run with these number 1 overall draft picks. You're watching these players from these other teams, and even you watch like Celebrini or some of these players, but you're watching some of these players dominate that they're number 1 overall picks, and we're like, oh, we have Owen Power, and how has his season turned around? Like all these sort of things are even Rasmus Dahlin, like, oh, Quinn Hughes is playing at such a higher level, like all these rewards that you're supposed to be getting along the way. Oh, Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel. Well, they're not here anymore. Even some of the players that they traded for Eichel and Reinhart like hadn't been performing up to snuff to the point where you even felt decent about those trades. So the fact that now all of these seem to be just piling up, it's all coming at the right time. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, like, it can't have just have been them hearing that Adams was going to be fired, right? And then you really try to think about, well, what could have actually been the trigger? And I feel like you still have to keep going back to that because the roster itself is identical, essentially. Now, obviously, they made a couple of moves here at the trade deadline, but throughout the run, post-December 9th, the roster was essentially the same. You want to give Lindy Ruff credit in the sense of saying, well, he obviously, there was something there, and maybe Lindy even made some internal changes himself in terms of how he approached things when the GM was changed out. And, I remember when we heard the Adams rumblings that we also maybe had thought, was there something going to happen with Lindy too? So maybe he did something within there. I want to give him credit for sure. But the fact that up until the trade deadline, the roster was the exact same. Like it's so curious to me to think that the person that's labeled as the GM would have that big of a difference in changing it. And then there's part of me that says, well, Adams essentially assembled this roster that's now performing at this level. So, like, what was the true disconnect that caused that not to work at the time that he was employed, and now all of a sudden, it looks like a total different franchise.
It's so fascinating. I think maybe you're the same, Brian, or both of you really, sort of an inclination to not settle for, well, they just did this one thing, and everybody's belief changed and attitude and all that kind of intangible stuff. But I like how E.J. Radick put it on this show on Friday. He's like, I've always liked this roster. For 2 years, I've liked this roster. But they're not a team that had the luxury of a Colorado or Tampa Bay, or Carolina he might have used instead of Tampa Bay. Either way, where you just sort of know it's going to work out. Like the standard is high. And E.J. said, the Sabres had to get to a point where they were going to play every game like it was opening night. And maybe that has happened. And I don't think you need 30 games for that. I think it can change in 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And they did win 10 in a row from there. So then everybody's job gets easier. You trust each other more, coaching gets easier, and suddenly you can believe that it's maybe good enough. So that kind of thing needed to happen. And if you told me it came from the move, to an extent, at least I'd believe it. Because I think that the credibility they were lacking changed with that move.
Yeah.
And players knew that.
I definitely feel like it. I know it. It is factually correct that the roster was assembled. I just don't. I do not have any reason to think this team would have done what they've been doing since Adams was fired if he hadn't been. I think we'd be sitting here talking about the guys they just sold off at the trade deadline.
And they get saves now.
That
helps too.
That also helps a lot. Yeah, that helps a lot.
They haven't needed them the last couple of games.
Right.
That not that many. So, well, it's really fun. Brian Koziol on the West Her Hotline. Let's get to the golf. It's going to cool down here this weekend, unfortunately, but we can warm up by watching the players. Is this tournament as good as ever?
I think so. I think people every year that this event becomes more and more of a is it a fifth major discussion, which I feel like we've been having forever, but it doesn't have to be. I think it's just great on its own as it is. But, I mean, the fact that I feel like people are more into watching this event, that you still know the golf course so well, that's what I think everybody loves about the Masters, too. I mean, there's a lot of traditions that go with it, but we all know the holes. And every year, Sawgrass more and more, you start to know the course more. I think it's the best finish on the PGA Tour with that reachable number 16 with water and a chance for an eagle putt, but you could also go in the water. 17, of course, the famous island green, that anything can happen there. And then 18, maybe the toughest tee shot to finish on out of all of the tour events that they have there, that dogleg left that goes around the water, a really hard par 4. So the fact that people love the course, and we've seen this finish play out so dramatically over the years, whether it was Fowler and Garcia in a playoff, or even just go back to last year, McIlroy and Spawn, and that's kind of J.J. Spawn's coming out party. We start to really learn a little bit more about him, and McIlroy, obviously comes out and wins the title, but Spawn hits the ball in the water on 17, but we get to really learn a little bit more about him, and then he comes on and has a great year, wins the U.S. Open. So, I think this tournament, people are getting the golf bug even more earlier in years now, want to play. The weather tease of this warmth here in Western New York, we all maybe want to get out and start playing again. So this tournament, to me, I feel like is the real start of the buzz of people following golf here. And because it's at such an iconic venue and they've had such great champions over the years and such good epic finishes, I definitely think it's the fifth best tournament. But, in terms of how it plays out, it might be just as dramatic or just as good as any of the majors that we're going to get.
Yeah, the course means so much to it, right? I mean, a lot. There are tour stops every year at the same places, right? We just saw Palmer's thing last weekend, and but you've got just the field and the time of the year now too. Like you're saying, like you start to feel it a little bit when the sun is out and you get a couple of warm days now and then, at least in this part of the country. That all totally works. Scheffler is a huge favorite. Does he deserve to be the huge favorite that he is? He's like, I think, plus 480, and everyone's in the 1,500 range.
That's what I see.
Yeah. Or higher.
Yeah, I mean, probably yes, because of just the fact that, there isn't another strong alternative, so people are just going to inevitably maybe shift their thoughts to going to him right away. He has struggled in opening rounds in the majority of his events so far this year, and then he's been really lights out in rounds 2, 3, and 4 to the point where he's chased down the field so often to the point that he actually has a chance to win on some of these Sundays. He does have one win. For Scheffler at this point of the season, you'd almost label it as disappointing, which is probably incorrect to say in golf. If you have a win before you even get to March, that's a good start to your season. But for Scheffler, it might even feel disappointing because his standard now has been, raised to be so high compared to what it was. This is probably very easy to say to follow up what I just did. If he starts well and is somewhere even in, the top 15 after day one, then I think it's his tournament for sure to win. McIlroy, who's the defending champion, you probably would say should be the clear 2, but he withdrew last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, had some back spasms, and he had not shown up to the golf course until today. He did do an interview and said he's going to be a, quote, game time decision. So that doesn't really deem well for him, or at least if you're thinking, like, could he have a chance to defend his title? That doesn't sound great. I don't think it's that big of a deal that maybe he's not getting a ton of practice rounds in. It's not like he doesn't know the course. It's just more so physically, like, is his back going to bother him during the round, or is he going to be able to get through it? So for him to kind of be maybe what you'd consider to usually be the second name after Scheffler, that's probably reason maybe why McIlroy won't get as much, because of his back coming in. Player that I really like that's a big name that has been playing really well this year so far is Colin Morikawa. He made a little swing change this year. He's talked about how he's been able to really kind of dial in those irons that had been so deadly through the course of his career when he was kind of in that top 5 mode. So he's been really, really good so far. So I guess to throw a big name out there after Scheffler, I think Morikawa is the guy that's been playing as good as anybody.
My guy Spawn, plus 8,000. I mean, that's a tremendous lack of respect, Bulldog. I don't know what he did. All he did is almost go to a playoff last year, then win the Open. That's the U.S. Open. I don't know. Do you have, Brian, a young name, not a household name that you like this year in general? Who's someone new that could break out?
Good question. I'd love to, Jacob Bridgman has won already this year. He's been in some decent tournaments, or he's had some good goes at it. I mean, Chris Gotterup is a guy that probably is too big of a name now, and that people might not know, but I mean, he's ranked in the top 10 of the world. He's had a nice start. He hits the ball a mile. That could be another name maybe to throw out there. These others, I mean, Maverick McNeely was a name last year that kind of came on the scene, kind of quieted down a little.
Bulldog refuses to believe anyone is named Maverick
I can't
McNeely.
believe that's a real guy. I think that's AI, Brian. I think it's just it's.
If you were AI, would you have a better chance of winning?
It's going to come out at some point here down the road that he's not real. Maverick McNeely, come on. Anyway, sorry for being a jerk.
No, it's all right.
My fault.
And let's see, I'll throw one more at you. Maybe Jake Knapp is another guy too.
Yep.
There's a name maybe to keep an eye on.
I think despite the fact that like someone like me now recognizes Gotterup's name on the leaderboard when I see it, I think he qualifies as new enough. Like he's just shown up last year at points, and that if he's off to a good start this year, I think that's a new face, I think, to sort of keep an eye on.
So are we betting this thing? I mean, to make the cut or to top 10, anything like that?
I'm not ready to do anything.
No, I'm not either, but just asking. How about Batia, Brian? He's not a new exactly either, but nice win for him. Yeah,
that was, I mean, for as much as you could argue that Berger, kind of fell at the end there, I think Batia could get just as much credit for going to win it last week. I mean, he made a ton of putts down the stretch. I did see a little bit this week, just reading golf articles and commentary about his putter. He does use the long putter. Yep. You're not supposed to anchor. There's all these zoomed in camera shots and video of like, ooh, is he accidentally brushing up against his shirt, or is it actually anchored? So I'm sure that if he's in contention, maybe that'll get a little more focus this week. I don't know.
Sounds like the curling controversy where they were brushing this. It's just a slight thing.
The finger, yes.
The finger.
If this was a true, I know Bernhard Langer, who wins like every other week on the Champions Tour, uses this putter, and people have said the same thing about him. If this was truly that much of an advantage, I would guess that you'd see a ton of people using it. I mean, I feel like, Adam Scott's used it forever, and I don't consider him to be a good putter at all. Like, he's been guys that he's a guy that everybody said, man, if he could putt, he could have won a lot more tournaments going through. So if he's officially touching his chest enough that it anchors and people are seeing it, like, yes, it is a rule that you're not allowed to anchor. So we should establish that. I still don't, until I see more people buying into using it on the PGA Tour, then I don't know necessarily if it's that true much of an advantage, and maybe he just finds it comfortable as just an individual would with any putter. So okay. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. But yes, Batia is a young guy. He's interesting. He weighs like 140 pounds soaking wet, but he can hit it a mile, and he's kind of a fun guy to watch play.
Very good, Brian. Glad we could catch up. Enjoy the tournament.
I will. You too. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And the Sabres
and
tomorrow
the hockey,
night.
Right. Yeah.
Alexander Ovechkin. Didn't he recently again break the goal-scoring record? And for some reason, this time, nobody wants to talk about it. Last year was all you heard about. For some reason, it's different.
He has scored some goals this year. So, yes, he has continued to set a record.
Every time.
Yeah.
Stop the game. Bring out the bouquets.
Maybe the Sabres will. Could be I don't know what he's going to do next year, but this could be it.
I'm thinking about making him the card of the day tomorrow.
You should.
Is that bad karma to pick a guy on the
No,
opponent?
I told you to bet San Jose last night, so whatever.
How did the other one go? Columbus won.
Columbus won, yeah, so I didn't win the parlay. The only one I missed was San Jose, by the way. I had a 4-leg parlay.
That lost because of the Sabres.
Rangers, Columbus, somebody else I forget. I don't remember.
Edmonton?
I don't remember.
They won in Denver.
I don't know who it was.
Ovechkin, 921 goals and counting. He has not scored in his last 3. But still, this could be his last appearance. You started to say it.
Yep.
Who knows? He is 40. 24 goals on the year. Could keep playing. That's tomorrow. Next, our chat with Sal Capaccio about the big Bills move today and more. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.